be brought under control because, they are giving vent to their need to assuage domestic opinion. That's fine. But they can't go about doing this because there is the danger of escalation, even though right now it may appear escalation, but may not be in reality. But the real danger of escalation is one that the world also cannot agree and allow to take place, no matter, hotheads on either side, etc.
No, I agree. We need to stay calm at this juncture and really sort of explain what is taking place from that perspective. Let's bring Shiv back on. Shiv, where are you right now, and what is some of the information that you're picking up?
Vishnu, I'm in Srinagar right now. I've just returned from the line of control in Kupwara sector where we were reporting on the escalation and shelling that continues there. We've just gotten word from Kupwara that shelling and firing has begun there as well, which basically proves that from North Kashmir all the way, to the international border in Rajasthan, things are completely activated at this point of time. We'll probably get more information about shelling taking place in the other sectors right now. But this is possibly the most turbulent live developing conflict situation and live combat situation that we are reporting, you and me, Vishnu. And things are changing literally by the second right now. Hundreds of different strands evolving by the minute, both in terms of the air defense systems of India, appearing to thwart every single incoming projectile, some of them missiles, some of them drones. There could be other kinds of weapons also being used at this point of time. We have a confirmation that, both Indian and Pakistani fighter aircraft are in the air. Sources are indicating, we don't have a confirmation, but indicating from the system, at least two of them, that an F-16 has been shot down, possibly by an S-400. There is chatter, unconfirmed. We will always use that disclaimer here on NDTV during a fog of war situation like this one, that maybe another aircraft from the Pakistan Air Force has also gone down. This is all happening very close to the international border and the line of control, Vishnu. And you've reported from there multiple times, so you know that even though the two countries have a border separating them, this is airspace we're talking about, and obviously air defense systems, anti-air systems, surface-to-air missiles, air-to-air missiles, they don't recognize those boundaries, and those ranges are well within what these systems can engage with each other. The S-400, as you rightly said, has an enormous interception range, and from where they are placed in India, we won't comment on that, to a combat air patrolling F-16 flying near Sargodha, somewhere near the international border. It is totally within range. It must have done something that was aggressive or seeming to be hostile. It was, of course, armed as well. It has been intercepted, say our sources. One other jet, we don't know what type, F-16 or JF-17, may have also been intercepted, but we will talk about that only once we have a confirmation. So on the ground, escalations in the airspace over military establishments and cities, interceptions are taking place, and the air forces of both countries are in the air. So we want to try and report this as calmly as possible because this is a turbulent and tense situation. Vishnu, you and I have, reported from the front lines of war, and we do know that it is important right now to sift through all these strands, which only NDTV is doing, and respect the fact that this is a shape-shifting story where things can change very, very quickly on both sides. And that's the reason why we need to look at it very carefully and slowly. And remember, Vishnu, what you said is probably the most important thing. With what Pakistan has attempted to do and so far failed to do, the ball is now in India's court, and India will be hitting back. And I wonder what the night brings now.
All right, a couple of important points, Shiv, hang tight, that we have with us. Apparently, the Chaukibal area in Kupwara has been evacuated. There is heavy firing which is taking place in that area. I want to be absolutely certain as we play out these images, and we have been careful throughout the evening, all of this is deferred. None of this is live. It's coming to us from multiple sources, a lot of it from social media. We have teams which are sifting through all of this. So this is deferred. Some of this has taken place more than an hour back. We are reporting at this stage on the basis of sources that there is information now to suggest that perhaps two Pakistani fighter aircraft have been shot down. Remember, these may not necessarily be on our territory. It could be in Pakistani territory, given the nature of warfare that is now taking place. Air-to-air missiles with ranges of up to 200 plus kilometers exist with the air forces of both sides, surface-to-air missiles with the ability of hitting targets out to 250 kilometers for the Pakistanis, out to almost 400 kilometers for India. That is also something that is deployed. That being the case, you don't necessarily use fighter aircraft to cross the line of control or the international border. You might need to, but there is a possibility of Pakistani jets having gone down. We don't know exactly where at this stage. Some reports suggest Sargodha for an F-16. We are waiting for footage to emerge, more details to emerge. When it does, we'll be able to confirm it. But this is coming now to us, both Shiv and me, from multiple sources, which is why we believe on the basis of sources, it is relatively safe to report this. Now, Shiv, there's a blackout where you are. Has that just happened?
It's just happened, Vishnu. There appears to be either a full blackout or a partial blackout because the area behind me was completely lit. It's gone completely dark. I'm looking around me, very few lights actually on at this point of time. Now, this is to be expected. There was a mock drill yesterday where, lights out took place. The fact that Srinagar is one of the cities that was on that list put out by the Ministry of Defense earlier today of places that were, potentially under attack or the Pakistan attempted to attack with missiles and drones but were intercepted by India's integrated air defense system suggests that a blackout, wouldn't be unexpected at this point of time. But having said that, it seems like the focus of these Pakistani incoming projectiles seems to be, in the Punjab sector, in the Jammu sector, south of the Pir Panjal, well south of where I'm reporting from in Srinagar and other parts of Rajasthan, Gujarat, even Madhya Pradesh, since the Gwalior Air Base has also gone black, could be targets for potential Pakistani attempts to attack there. But so far, I think this is by far the most interesting thing that we're looking at, Vishnu, and it's very difficult to hide these things in a time where, as we can see, every single visual on our screen, is a shaky mobile phone visual. These are all open source pictures streaming onto social media, citizens taking pictures liberally of this, fascinating, conflict taking place in the airspace right above literally their homes and giving us this elaborate depiction for the first time ever. I can't remember ever seeing something like this in Indian airspace of sophisticated Indian weapons at play. Many of these weapons from Pakistan are also very sophisticated, and one wonders how long this is going to continue. It's not easy to sustain attacks of this kind, and it appears that this is going to play out for at least a few hours because these are still early hours, and one wonders, where this is going to go. How much more of an escalation beyond, possible air attacks, the air forces in the air, a full border activation, the international border also going hot, just like the line of control. How long can that sustain tonight is really the big, question facing us right now, Vishnu.
All right, Air Chief Marshal Fali Homi Major, as we broadcast these images, again, deferred images from Jaisalmer, from Aknoor, from Jammu, from Bhuj, from other areas as well, of saturation attacks being conducted on Indian airspace and interceptions taking place. Could you give us a sense, as somebody who's led the Indian Air Force, on how tense things must be right now? We would potentially have a large number of aircraft operating. We'd have an integrated air defense system fully manned at this stage, operating multiple sensors. How does it work at this stage? What would the top leadership of the Air Force be doing, broadly speaking?
Vishnu, at this time, the leadership of the Indian Air Force, as a matter of fact, the Indian Armed Forces, must be glued to their screens in their operations centers. And as I mentioned some time back, the spread is too wide. Now, is this, are we still calculating an escalation ladder, or is this war? This is one thing which there is no declared war so far. But if this be the state, what do we call it? It cannot be a geographically restricted area conflict. This is spread across the country, because I heard, I think it was Shiv who said that some drone was intercepted in Gujarat, near Kutch or whatever it is. Now, what does this mean? Which means, it only means that their intent, our adversary's intent, is not to, tone down the conflict situation, but to aggravate it. And I think he's making a huge mistake, because if this aggravation takes place, I mean, there are reports of aircraft being shot down. Definitely, every single armed force in the country today, for all we know, the Navy must be already nearing Karachi or Gwadar or one of their ports to write off their harbors.
All right.
We are in a state now, Vishnu, which is very, very unpredictable. As a matter of fact, we do not know what happens for the rest of the night and tomorrow and the days to come. But if this doesn't die down soon, it's going to be a huge flare-up.
General Malik, are you still with us? Would you like to come in on this at this stage, just reflecting on what Air Chief Marshal Major had to say, that if this doesn't die down soon, then we are headed in a particular direction. All of you in the military have trained, you have spent your lifetimes, sort of dealing with a scenario like this. If this doesn't end or subside or go down soon, then we are headed in a particular direction. General Malik, what are your thoughts at this stage?
I agree with the Air Chief Marshal Fali Major about the extent of the combat situation that we are facing today, the distance-wise. But, it's either the distance that is involved, or the frontage that is involved, or the duration that is involved, that can be restricted in a Kargil war. So I still would not like to call it a limited war yet. And we'll have to see if this continues for next 2 days. And we have to see the kind of targeting which is done from both sides. That may lead to conventional war. But again, my own feeling is that Pakistan is not capable of waging a conventional war against India for more than a few days. And I'm sure they realize it. Even now, whatever is happening on the ground, they know that we will retaliate and we will. But at the moment, they have no alternative, because their own image has been affected domestically. So they have no other idea except to escalate to this extent, so that they can tell people in their own country that, look, we are also capable of doing something. But I'm sure that not only the international community will come down heavily on both countries, but even they don't have that capacity to fight a long war. And let us remain cool at the moment. I don't think we should get excited about it. It is happening, and people who are preparing and who have these contingency plans on their mind, they know something of this nature can take place. So it should not come as a big surprise to the services community, soldiers particularly, senior leaders particularly. So we have to remain cool. We have to watch. We have to keep assessing the situation, and we have to be very careful that we don't get swayed by the fake news that keeps coming from all over the sources, social media and others. So we have to keep making our assessment, keep getting our reports from different places, and be prepared to retaliate at the right time and at the right time and the right opportunity.
Ambassador Manjeev Puri, there is a reaction which is coming from the US State Department spokesperson Tammy Bruce, who says, and I quote, Secretary Marco Rubio spoke today with Indian External Affairs Minister S. Jaisalmer. The Secretary emphasized the need for immediate de-escalation. He expressed US support for direct dialogue between India and Pakistan and encouraged continued efforts to improve communications. The Secretary reiterated his condolences for the horrific terrorist attack in Pahalgam and reaffirmed the United States' commitment to work with India in the fight against terrorism. So America is saying there needs to be immediate de-escalation and that they're willing to support direct dialogue between India and Pakistan. How significant is this statement?
Vishnu, I don't know if the secretary was listening to what I was telling you. Look, this particular thing, although the Pope has just been elected, so the UK, US is going into a big trade deal. So the global screen is quite occupied at the moment with things which for them are very important. But we are not lost. We are important countries. India is an important player. Terrorism is an important subject. And war among two countries which have nuclear capabilities is certainly very important. So believe me, those countries and the United States in particular is aware of it. If you notice, President Trump has on 2 or 3 occasions said, and he said that he knows both sides very well. He's willing to do whatever. Marco Rubio, first step. I hope the message goes to the Pakistani. It's not us. We haven't been escalating. I hope there is a kind of sitting on them. Would it require really the president himself to make the call? I don't know the answers to that. I hope not. But, following up on what General Malik said, look, they also know that they have limited capacity. They also, unfortunately or fortunately, also have a domestic opinion which they need to take care of. I don't want to remind people here, but you take you back to Kargil, just when they were really going to get it in them, the Americans intervened and said, come on, guys, let's shake hands, come to Washington, let's find a solution. That country does have overwhelming abilities vis-a-vis Pakistan. They also have equities as far as we are concerned. I'm afraid while we may have thought, or the Pakistanis may have thought, that we may remain away from the radar screen for a little while, it hasn't
For
happened.
just 1
I think
second,
by
we've got
tomorrow
some
it'll become
breaking news
much more
coming
evident.
in at this stage that the Defence Minister Rajnath Singh is reviewing the situation with the Chief of Defence Staff and the 3 services chiefs. This is confirmed information that we are carrying at this, at this stage. That's expected. The whole system is plugged into what is taking place. Ambassador Puri, just hold on for a little bit more time. Let's go across to NDTV's Harsha Kumari Singh in Jaisalmer. Harsha, go ahead.
On comment, yeah. Sushil, switch on the light. Yeah. So Vishnu, just as we were, I don't know how much you can see me, we've been told not to switch on the lights because just as we were on the border areas, and I'm just going to put on the light a little bit so you can see me. So when we were in the border areas and we were coming back in towards the town, we saw these lights in the sky, lights going off from both sides. And then we got information that there were some blasts which were heard in Jaisalmer. My colleague Shrikant is here. Shrikant, आपने क्या कोशिश किया? He tried to talk to the authorities और आपको क्या response मिला? अभी क्या situation है जैसलमेर में?
मैंने प्रशासन के लोगों से बात करने की कोशिश की, पुलिस के लोगों से बात करने की कोशिश की, कुछ इंटेल जो मेरे सोर्सेज थे इंटेलिजेंस में उनसे बात की, लेकिन कोई भी कुछ भी रिस्पॉन्ड नहीं करा। वो यही कह रहा है
एक पैनिक का माहौल था।
कहीं ना कहीं एक पैनिक है और अभी सबसे ज़्यादा जो इम्पोर्टेंट है प्रायोरिटी है इस सिचुएशन को कंट्रोल करना और उसके बाद कोई बातचीत करना। तो हम भी समझ पा रहे हैं, लोग जो है वो लगातार सोशल मीडिया पे भी कई अलग अलग जगह से वीडियोस आ रहे हैं। रामगढ़ से एक वीडियो आया, पोखरण से, हालांकि कंफर्मेशन नहीं हो रहा है कहाँ क्या हो रहा है, लेकिन जैसलमेर सिटी के आसपास का जो इलाका है, 2 तरफ में सिटी बटी है। एक तो जो पुराना शहर है और दूसरा जहाँ हम अभी खड़े हैं इस पुल के दूसरी तरफ का शहर है। दोनों ही तरफ से आवाज़ आई और ज़्यादा जो आवाज़ें हैं वो एयरपोर्ट की तरफ से और शहर के भीतरी शहर के आसपास से सुनाई दे रही है। हालांकि पुलिस पूरे ब्लैकआउट की और पूरी मुस्तैदी कर रही है, लेकिन कहीं ना कहीं आवाज़ें रुक रुक कर आ रही है। हमने अभी कुछ देर पहले भी आवाज़ें सुनी, आप भी मेरे साथ थी, जिस तरह से ड्रोन उड़ते हुए जैसे लगा, वो ड्रोन था या क्या ये कंफर्मेशन नहीं है, लेकिन लोगों का कहना है कि इस तरह की लाइट्स ब्लिंक हुई और ड्रोन जैसा कुछ एकदम स्पीड में गया, तो लग रहा है कि ऐसा कुछ हुआ है। और इसी बीच सीएम और सीएस के जो है, ये भी मेरे सोर्सेज से मुझे पता चला है कि जयपुर में जो है वो सीएस सुधांश पंत और सीएम भजनलाल शर्मा जो है वो सभी जो बॉर्डर इलाके हैं, गंगानगर, बीकानेर, बाड़मेर, जैसलमेर, इन तमाम जगहों के एसपी और कलेक्टर्स के साथ मीटिंग कर रहे हैं। इमरजेंसी मीटिंग की गई है और ये भी कहा गया है कि इन बॉर्डर इलाकों में जो है वो जितने भी लोग हैं जहाँ पद खाली है सरकारी, वो आसपास के जिलों से तुरंत भरे जाए। मतलब कहीं ना कहीं एक बड़ी इमरजेंसी।
जी देखिए बिल्कुल। सो विष्णु, I have also, like I'm telling you, I was trying to get back into Jaisalmer town because when I was standing on the road, I saw these lights going off, in the sky, and I could hear sounds of like what sound like blasts happening. Well, blasts in the sense in the distance, but very soft kind of explosion type of sound definitely happening. So we then decided to move to a safe place. We've come here, and there was an army. There were some army vehicles which were stopped here. They stopped me from going ahead. They've said that I should stay here. I should not try and go into town because it's not safe. And I can even now, in fact, Here sound. Shrikant, आपको सुनाई दे रहा है पीछे मेरे को एक?
देखिए रुक रुक के आवाज आ रही है अभी भी, जैसे देखिए एक लाइट सी हल्की सी ब्लिंक होती है और फिर आवाज आती है, एक सिलसिला रुक नहीं रहा है। और ये कह सकते हैं कि आवाज धमाके की हो सकती है, पूरी संभावना मेरे को भी सुनाई दे रही है और आप भी सुन पा रहे होंगे।
So Vishnu, we are not really being able to confirm exactly what it is. We are hearing that blasts are taking place. There's sounds in and around Jaisalmer, definitely sounds, and there's an entire blackout here. So we've also taken shelter under a bridge. We are reporting from here, and we've opened our light very little, so you can just see us, so that we can give you a report. And we've also heard news that somewhere in Pokhran also people have seen lights, and of course what Shrikant just said, we've heard on the various groups or WhatsApp groups that the Chief Minister is taking emergency meeting in Jaipur, but of course my colleagues in Jaipur will be able to confirm that better.
All right, let's go back to Shiv Arur at this stage in Srinagar. Okay, we'll come back to him in a moment. There is a full blackout now in Srinagar, in Jammu, and several other areas, including Chandigarh, where there is a blackout, parts of Aknoor as well. Arispura, Samba, Arnya, Aknoor, Pathankot, Rajouri, Reasi, Barmer, Jaisalmer, these are all areas which have seen strikes. There would be many more areas where inbound strikes, where strikes from Pakistan have been attempted. Again, the image on the left is from Jammu, and you can see the interceptions being carried out. Those are interceptions by surface-to-air missiles, it does appear. There are reports of an attempt being made to strike Jammu airport, which is a major civilian airport and also a military airport. Those interceptions appear to be successful at this stage. I interrupted you, Ambassador Puri, a little while back. Again, just complete your, carry on, sir, with your thoughts. Ambassador Puri, can you hear me? All right, we'll come back to him in just a little while from now. General Malik, all right, we've got Major General Gigi Dwivedi with us as well. General Dwivedi, this appears to be a fairly sustained saturation attempt by Pakistan, attempting to hit several parts of our country. Again, the escalation has gone up significantly. We've seen this restricted so far to aerial strikes from one country to the other. But as we speak right now, with so many attacks coming in and with so many attacks being repulsed by us, what are your thoughts?
Well, so firstly, thanks to have me on your show. Well, I think we need to get the larger picture right before we get into the ground action. The larger picture is that India's political intent is to deter Pakistan and to put an end to the proxy war. As far as Pakistan is concerned, they are not going to oblige until they have been hurt adequately. Now, that is the larger picture. How do we see the escalation ladder? Well, India's first level one was to only go in for the terrorist infrastructure. That was level one. But Pakistan chose to hit our military targets because in India, they will not find a terrorist target. So that was expected, and that is level two. And that is what we are going on.
General Dwivedi, just hold on for half a second. We've got some breaking news coming in with Shiv Arur. Shiv, go ahead.
Vishnu, there's a complete blackout right now in Srinagar. We've just received orders at our location right now to switch off our camera lights. That's the reason why this is completely a black frame. No other indications of anything else. The only background information we have, of course, is that this comes a day after the mock drills which were conducted yesterday for this kind of a blackout. And now it's actually happening live. All of the lights around me here in Srinagar have been turned off, and orders have just come in to keep them off for at least the time being. Some lights have begun to come back on, but mostly it's a blackout here in Srinagar. Remember, the other piece of related information is that yesterday when Pakistan sent all those missiles and drones towards India in an attempt to attack military stations, they did, okay, we're trying to use a little bit of mobile light if we're permitted to do so, but there is a blackout here in Srinagar. That this city, the capital city of Jammu and Kashmir, was one of the places that was on that list of 15 cities of whose military establishments could have been under target. None of those were successful.
Shiv, let me interrupt you for half a second. We've got new footage also coming in on Jalandhar also being under attack at this stage. So Jalandhar also being attacked. We've got footage coming in from Jalandhar. We'll play that out in just a few moments from now. That footage is on air. Again, interceptions taking place. This appears to be the clearest footage so far of interceptions, and those are surface-to-air missiles which are going up and taking on incoming drones or Pakistani missiles. This is the clearest video so far. This is footage, deferred footage. I want to make that absolutely clear. Deferred footage, it happened earlier on, of Jalandhar. So, you know, what we've seen earlier on over the skies of Tel Aviv, now taking place over the skies of India as well. Shiv, you can't see this footage where you are, but, you know, what I'm seeing right now is the most clear footage so far of clearly surface-to-air missiles from India intercepting any number of targets. I don't know if the targets are missiles or drones. This is from Jalandhar, but carry on with your thoughts, Shiv. We've lost that line with Shiv once again. He's reporting in pretty difficult conditions right now. It's a complete blackout in Srinagar where he is. There is a blackout in many other parts as well. We'll try and get that line up and then we'll be able to hear him clearly. But what happened on the left-hand side of your screen, again, Jammu, the blasts are interceptions taking place. Shiv, if you can hear me now, what I was saying is that we've got footage of Jalandhar up on our screens. This is so far the most lucid footage of these interceptions taking place. And it's clear that surface-to-air missiles have been deployed over here in taking down these targets. I don't know if the incoming targets are missiles or they're drones or both. But carry on with your thoughts, Shiv.
I agree with you. This, this piece of footage coming in from Jalandhar appears to suggest, either short-range missiles of some kind or drones, because the projectiles seem to be moving pretty fast, like in the footage that we saw from Jammu as well, suggesting a mix of both missiles and drones, which is in fact what the Indian Ministry of Defense had said in their statement as well earlier today. This is morbidly fascinating to see India's integrated air defense system, working in such a relentless fashion. Remember, it's important to, tell our viewers that some of these interceptions may seem bunched together to seem like it's happening one after the other, but many of these things are literally happening at the same time across different sectors, whether it is in Punjab sector or Jammu sector, here in Jammu and Kashmir where I am as well. It appears to suggest that this entire air defense shield is working in unison, almost like a symphony, exactly the way it's supposed to. We need to, of course, be sober about possible battle damage assessment, about whether any of those missiles or drones have found their way through and, caused any damage on the ground. So far, there is nothing to suggest that, Vishnu. But clearly, we're going to have to be looking in many different directions tonight because those weapons are coming in from different sectors, different, launching areas within Pakistan as well. I have a confirmation that we've got, special sensors. We're not going to specify what those sensors are, but you know what I'm talking about, Vishnu, and we'll leave it, we'll leave the details out on that one as far as these launches are concerned. So an Indian retaliation is probably just around the corner. This won't be able to continue for very long, Vishnu.
No, it's clear that, what happens next, whether we choose to continue our counter to this at the level of airstrikes or whether, this is headed towards ground strikes or anything else, that's something which our defense planners will need to figure out. The Chief of Defense Staff was meeting the Defense Minister Rajnath Singh, I believe, with the three service chiefs a little while back in the Delhi. Again, for the benefit of our viewers, what you're seeing on your screens right now, footage from Jammu and Jalandhar, everything that we've been broadcasting has been deferred footage. It's been an incredibly challenging 48 hours plus for India. This after India went in with our strikes, which took out Pakistani terrorist centers across the line of control and deep in Pakistan as well. After that, Pakistan retaliated early today, and they took India was able to saturate a lot of that attack. India countered. We took out a Pakistani air defense unit in Lahore. There were suicide drone attacks, which India used suicide drones, Israeli Harop drones, to take out lots of targets. And now this is taking place. So this is the sequence of events. I mentioned that Rajnath Singh was meeting some of the chiefs. That's not taking place. I believe it's the Chief of Defense Staff who has had some important meetings in the last while, as you would imagine. Again, sorry, all right, we've got Tilak Deveshwar with us as well. Mr. Deveshwar, thanks very much for waiting. Your thoughts, at what's happening now. I mean, it's a developing, fast-moving, fluid situation. Tell us what, where you see this headed.
Vishnu, there's no other way of saying it except that this is a major escalation by Pakistan. It has gone up a rung, and I think India had warned them that targeting of civilians, the targeting of military installations, which is what Pakistan has done, will invite a swift and severe retribution. And this is exactly what's going to happen. You'll find over the next 6 to 8 hours that there will be a very strong reaction from India. I would just like to draw your attention that why did Pakistan do this, or why is Pakistan doing it? I'll quote one historical example. And if you look at Asim Munir and the Pakistan army, they have lost a lot of credibility in the recent past. And one way to restore credibility is to externalize the problem vis-a-vis India and to try and unify the country. Except that they did not happen the way they had planned. Initially, I think Asim Munir felt that India would retaliate militarily, like in Uri, like in Balakot. There will be de-escalation and the crisis will be over, but they would have garnered support of the people. India began by non-kinetic, stopping or holding in abeyance the Inter-Quarter Treaty is going to affect Pakistan's agriculture and food security over the long term. That is one. Now, interestingly, in 1971, there was a very fascinating incident where the Chief of Staff, Gul Hassan, was traveling in an aircraft with Air Marshal Asghar Khan. And Asghar Khan asked him that, what is happening, what are you trying to do? And Gul Hassan said, we are hoping that India would attack us. And Asghar Khan said, why is that? He said, because then the US will intervene and we will withdraw and we will be able to save the situation. I have a feeling that this escalation that Pakistan is doing or has done is basically to attract international attention. You mentioned earlier there's already been a US statement asking people to, to both countries to talk and de-escalate. Pakistan is hoping for
Mr. Deveshwar, I'm interrupting you now because we've got some breaking news coming in. This is attributed to the headquarters of the Integrated Defence Staff, which says in a tweet, military stations of Jammu, Pathankot and Udhampur in the proximity of the international boundary in Jammu and Kashmir, targeted by Pakistan using missiles and drones, no losses, threat neutralized by the Indian Armed Forces as per standard operating procedures with kinetic and non-kinetic means, which means that they used jammers and they used weapons such as surface-to-air missiles and air defense guns as well. Who do we have at this stage? General Malik, would you like to respond to that? They are targeting, and this is confirmed information, right? It's coming from the headquarters of the Integrated Defence Staff. They put out a tweet, Jammu military station, Pathankot military station, and Udhampur military station. Your thoughts, sir?
I think they have done the right thing by making it public, because all sorts of rumor mongering would be going on otherwise. And the best way to check rumor mongering and panic anywhere is to give out official statement. And I hope that they would do it more frequently, and they continue to do it more frequently, because we have to remain cool, and we should not get into panic and get excited about these things. So these kind of statements coming from official sources, I welcome them.
Deveshwar, would you like to reflect a little bit on this news that military stations in Jammu and Pathankot and Udhampur have been targeted? So they're going after our military bases. In 2019 during the Balakot attack, they were trying to hit Rajouri military base. They were unable to on that occasion. We don't believe that they've been successful on this occasion either. In fact, the IDS says that we've intercepted their missiles and drones. But again, your thoughts?
Yes, so let me just complete what I was saying earlier. So Pakistan here again is trying to draw international attention, especially of the United States and maybe even of China, to help them de-escalate so that the blame for the debacle of the Pakistan army does not fall on the army itself, but that it is the US intervention. Now, coming to what this idea statement, I think it's very clear that whatever Pakistan has thrown so far against Indian military stations has been intercepted and blocked. As it says, there's no damage. Now, this is going to be a huge setback for Pakistan because all along, they have tried to project, or they try and project equivalence with India. That if India does X, they will do X plus 1. But here, they have not been able to be successful either yesterday. They could not prevent Indian strikes on Lahore, dismantling their air defense system, nor have they been successful so far. So this is going to make the Pakistan army even more desperate and look worse as far as the Pakistani public is concerned. So therefore, they are going to be looking for an off-ramp, an escape route that people don't totally lose faith in the Pakistan army.
Shiv Arur, can you hear me, Shiv? Shiv with us. All right, Shiv.
Yes, I can.
Again, that idea statement important because, we have been reporting it in fits and starts, but it's been a concerted attack besides anywhere else, but also on Indian military bases. Right, this is the Integrated Defence Staff saying that Pathankot, Jammu and Udhampur were targeted. Those attacks have failed. Your thoughts?
Indeed, they failed because, this isn't just a statement. This is probably for the first time in recent history or in history per se, Vishnu, that we're seeing, a statement completely, come with visual proof of that being true. The idea is saying, that all of these attempts to hit these bases in Pathankot, etc., have failed. I mean, just look at the images. The images don't show any of those projectiles hitting. This is not to suggest even for a moment that this isn't an extremely volatile situation and that there is every possibility of damage happening or one of those missiles or drones hitting their target. But it is an absolutely a surreal salute to Indian air defense at this point of time. I have no hesitation in saying that our men and women who populate our air defense stations in different parts of the country and are the incredible humans in the loop of this sustained, energetic, terrifying in many respects, multiple interception of so many projectiles at the same time across cities is truly something for the history books. I've never seen it before. The Integrated Defence Staff is confirming, very importantly, at least that information is flowing, and they're specifying which bases at which these interceptions are actually taking place. One wonders how long Pakistan can, actually try and sustain this. There are indications that things are going to be escalating very, very shortly from India's side as well. Vishnu, we of course will not be reporting any operational details, movements, timelines. Everything is going to be deferred as far as our footage and news breaks are concerned. That's a guarantee we take very seriously and give to our viewers. No matter which other channel feels like jumping on a news break on NDTV, we will respect the fact that this is a live, evolving situation that involves the lives of our combat troops, our forces, our air defense forces, our pilots, our people at sea, sailors, airmen, Jawans on the border right now, the line of control where NDTV is reporting from, and we take that very, very seriously. So as we look at these images, mesmerizing images of, aerial interceptions of these incoming projectiles, let's please remind ourselves, and I agree with what General Malik said, that we should be cool, we should be calm as we report this, and only NDTV is, and we will continue to bring our viewers the facts overnight tonight.
Shiv, what we are hearing at this juncture is, apart from this incredible footage that you're actually about to see on our screens, I think this is Jaisalmer. I'm just going to let this footage breathe out for a moment. stay with this footage and just show it a little bit in a loop, because what you are seeing now is the most vivid footage so far of Jaisalmer under attack. You can see Indian air defenses operating over here. All of the blasts that you see in the sky are of Pakistani drones and missiles being intercepted. The integrated air defense that we have right now is working. It is smashing the incoming projectiles. Those are all missiles going off. If you thought you'd seen it all in Israel, what you are now seeing over the skies of Jammu, over the skies of Jaisalmer over here and elsewhere, this is just, it's something else. Massive explosions over the skies as these projectiles are taken out. India under attack tonight across several areas on our western front. We've got some information coming in at this stage that according to our sources in the armed forces, Pakistani drone attacks that you see over there along the western borders are being reported in several locations. They have effectively been engaged by our armed forces. There will be more updates which come in. However, inputs with respect to suicide attacks by terrorists at Pathankot or Rajouri are completely false. We've not reported that on our channel. If it does happen, then we're going to track that very closely. There is some news that's also huge, which is coming in. I'm just looking to clarify it or verify it before I report it. Shiv, what we do have at this stage is an indicator that a Pakistani AWACS platform may have been taken down by the Indian Air Force. On the Pakistani side, in Pakistani Punjab, again, we don't have footage of this, it's night, but this is the information that is tentatively coming in right now. There have been reports of an F-16 shot down. There have been reports of JF-17 shot down. There is some inaccurate information which has come in the midst of it all. So I think in terms of our conversation right now, Shiv, let's veer on the side of caution by telling our viewers that there is information which is coming in of substantial Pakistan Air Force losses at this stage. Shiv?
Vishnu, I agree with you. There's a lot of information coming in thick and fast. The F-16 fighter being shot down, we are reasonably sure that's confirmed because I've gotten that from my sources in the Air Force as well as the government. Information coming in from some government sources of a Pakistani airborne early warning aircraft being shot down is enormous news if confirmed to be true. We're talking about it right now because at least two government sources have given us that input. It isn't confirmed just yet. We're waiting for a confirmation. And I agree with you, Vishnu. If that does get confirmed, it would be, a huge hit on Pakistan's Air Force. Just as a matter of detail, to tell our viewers that Pakistan operates two kinds of early warning aircraft. It has a small fleet of Saab 2000 Ariai aircraft from Sweden. It also operates the ZDKO-3 Karakoram Eagle AWACS aircraft supplied to them by who else but China. We don't know which of these two aircraft, are in the air, but government sources saying that it's possible that an airborne early warning aircraft has been shot down. These are, of course, basically flying radars. For those of our viewers who may not be completely familiar, AWACS aircraft are, which stands for Airborne Warning and Control System or Airborne Early Warning and Control System, are aircraft which have large, very powerful radars, which by virtue of their altitude have an amazing sweep of vision, off the battlefield, off anything that they really want to look at, including aircraft, missile launches and things like that, and provide a very powerful sort of sensor platform in the air to warfighters. So if an AWACS has been shot down by India, and we will hopefully get a confirmation on that beyond the, the fog of war through which we're trying to report this very, very rapidly escalating story, would make it one of the biggest combat losses for Pakistan in a very, very long time. We have to be careful. Vishnu and I, we are looking at messages we're getting on social media as well, acknowledging that NDTV's reportage of this evolving situation is being seen to be the most responsible because, we are vetting information as much as we possibly can in the constraints that we are under right now. There are multiple feeds of footage coming in. There are lots of inputs coming in from our network of reporters in Jammu, in Samba, in Pathankot, in Riyasi, in Bathinda, in Jaisalmer and elsewhere. And therefore, putting it all together live right now is something we want to be very, very cautious about, because we are also aware that there is a degree of possible misinformation that can do the rounds, and therefore we will exercise caution while we report. F-16 shot down, airborne warning and control system, confirmation awaited, but indications coming in from the government that this may have happened, which indicates that things are definitely escalating with each passing minute. Vishnu, we also did receive an indication earlier that India's retaliation, is imminent. It's going to happen at any time. What shape or form that's going to take is anybody's guess. We don't know that. But remember that just hours ago today, India had already struck Lahore, with attack drones called the Harop. Whether India uses the same kinds of weaponry, different kinds of weaponry, we will of course not speculate on those operational details.
Dave, hang on for half a second. Our army sources telling us that there has been no movement of tanks on either side, and that media, there is a lot of irresponsible media. Unfortunately, I do need to say this. There are people who've been saying there is. That's not the case. Any such report is uncorroborated, is what our army sources are telling us. Another new development which has just taken place is Dr. S. Jaishankar, in India's External Affairs Minister, who says that he's spoken to the US Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, this evening. Deeply appreciate the US commitment to work with India in the fight against terrorism, have underlined India's targeted and measured response to cross-border terrorism, will firmly counter any attempts at escalation. That's a very big statement which has come in over here. Ambassador Manjeev Puri, let me take that across to you. India's foreign minister saying that we've underlined India's targeted and measured response to cross-border terrorism, measured is a key word, will firmly counter any attempts at escalation. India doesn't want to escalate. This is the public statement, and yet it just seems that Pakistan continues to do that.
Vishnu, look, we've been all saying it, and I think Mr. Deveshar has also told you, whatever may be the reason, at the end of the day, it is Pakistan which has to be sat on to actually understand that they have no choice but to de-escalate, and that it's also in their interest. Of course, on the other hand, as far as India is concerned, for a variety of global reasoning, etc., it's not that we are not amenable to pressure, but that's beside the point. At the moment, the aggressive party are the Pakistanis, whatever may be the reasons, domestic, political reasons, needing to assuage their public, whatever it is. The fact is, they need to de-escalate. Whether they are looking for an escape route or anything doesn't matter. And usually in the past, the United States has been that particular via media. And it would appear to me that those phone calls will start ringing. As I told you, at the moment, the Western world is a little preoccupied. US, UK, trade deal, the new Pope, etc. But wait for a few hours wait till the next day dawns, and then you see that the phone will start ringing, and that will have the desired impact.
The confirmed information that we have at this stage, the biggest announcement in the last little while, was from the headquarters of the Integrated Defence Staff of India, which has said that military stations of Jammu, Pathankot and Udhampur in proximity to the international boundary in Jammu and Kashmir have been targeted by Pakistan using missiles and drones. There have been no losses. The threat has been neutralized by Indian armed forces as per standard operating procedures with kinetic and non-kinetic means. The other big piece of news on the international front has been our External Affairs Minister speaking to his US counterpart, Secretary Rubio, where he has told him that we deeply appreciate America's commitment to work with India in the fight against terrorism, underlined India's targeted and measured response to cross-border terrorism, will firmly counter any attempts at escalation. So that's the second major development which has taken place. There is blackout. There are blackouts in several cities across India: Srinagar, Jammu, Jaisalmer, Chandigarh, many other. There'd be upwards of a dozen at least where there's a full blackout which was ordered. The footage that you see, two images, two different areas. Again, deferred footage because that's a government obligation. On your left, Jammu. On your right, Jaisalmer. This is some of the most vivid footage. What you do see on your screens in both cases are of Indian surface-to-air missiles being fired, taking out incoming missiles and drones. We don't know if these are drones or missiles, but India has retaliated. India is taking out these threats very, very strongly. We've seen footage like this, and I said this a few other times earlier in the evening as well, when those massive ballistic missile attacks on Tel Aviv did take place. It's happening over our own skies now, and these interceptions are taking place. Shiv, would you like to just reflect on some of the new developments that we can confirm and report at this stage?
Vishnu, the incredible number of developments that are taking place with each passing minute are truly mind-boggling. There's a huge flood of misinformation that's coming in as well, and I think it's our responsibility also to bust some of the wrong news and disinformation that's being put out by other media. There is no movement of tanks on both sides. The army has confirmed to us there is no suicide attack of any kind, either in Rajouri or in Pathankot, as is being stated by some media. Very, very irresponsible reporting by many across the board. Obviously on NDTV, the reason why you didn't see those two pieces of information is because we verify, vet and corroborate everything. So at least two pieces of fake news doing the rounds, which is very dangerous in this scenario, because we're talking about operational movements right now. The enemy is watching media right now. There has never been a time for the media to be more responsible than now, when our men and women in uniform are on the front lines, doing the literal work of protecting India's sovereignty. So I think this is an appeal from NDTV to all media, perhaps, to please be as responsible as you can. You can worry about all your other stuff a little later. Right now, our forces are, on the line right now for the country's integrity, and I think that needs to be borne in mind. The attack from the air from different areas of Pakistan is continuing. We're hearing about the possibility of mounting losses, of air assets within Pakistan, Vishnu. But once again, that's something we don't want to speculate upon until we have at least 3 or 4 corroborations from either the Air Force or the government. As far as that benchmark is concerned, we can say that an F-16 has been shot down. As far as the AWACS is concerned, that's something that's going viral right now, because obviously emotions are high in India right now. People are angry. It's understandable, but that's also a situation that becomes ripe, for wrong information to, spread dramatically. So on NDTV, we will be responsible, because you have the right to get correct, authentic information, and not just something, that you can be pleased about. So very possible that there has been a loss of an AWACS aircraft, but we will report that only once it is actually confirmed. F-16 down, possibility of another fighter also down, but await NDTV's confirmation. Vishnu, whether
why, Shiv, that's important what you are saying, because just in the last little while we've got the Barmer district collector who's come in with a message saying a private news channel is broadcasting the news of a missile attack in Barmer. No such incident has occurred. The district administration denies this. So again, we are going to go by, what we know to be fairly accurate and report that. Sorry, Shiv, go ahead.
Yes, just as I was saying, Vishnu, there are 3 aspects of what is going on right now, and I want to describe them in some detail, because I know that An overwhelming section of India's viewers are watching us right now, and the kind of pressure on us is even more right now to authenticate all information. And Vishnu, you and I are in the best possible position to do this because we've both covered war, we've both covered conflict, we've visited practically all of the places that we're naming right now, whether it is Pathankot, whether it is Jalandhar, whether it is Jammu, whether it is Jaisalmer, and therefore we have an idea of what this actually looks like as this plays out. Let's talk first about the air aspect of what's happening. There are fighter aircraft in the air, there are support system aircraft in the air, there's a possibility of missiles flying between both sides from the air as well. We do know that an F-16 has been shot down. There's a possibility of more assets being lost on the Pakistan side. Nothing on the Indian side, even though Pakistan has just issued a press release from Rawalpindi talking once again about those Harop drones having been intercepted. No indication of that. Now let's talk about the land aspect of what's happening, Vishnu. Number one, I've just come back from the line of control in Kupwara sector. It is completely lit up. We could hear artillery even as we were leaving. That aspect of it is also known right now. The army has just busted fake news by another network saying that tanks are on the move on both sides. They've categorically denied that that's happened, and I think it's important to highlight that because right now when combat operations are in full swing, it is totally irresponsible to give out wrong information that may be used by the enemy to justify some kind of different escalation. Three, the aspect that we're not seeing at all play out because it's not in front of us and not near us is the naval aspect, Vishnu. And you know very well that the Navy is not sitting around, doing nothing while the Air Force and the Army, are participating in this huge defense of Indian integrity and airspace against Pakistan and also launching offensive strikes on that country. But the Navy, we can be absolutely 100% sure, is not only 100% operationally ready, but in some respects, Vishnu, and you know what I'm saying, is participating in what we're seeing right now. India's retaliation for Pahalgam, starting with Operation Sindoor, did involve the Navy directly in the form of loitering munitions, and even how it's playing out right now, even though it may not be immediately visible to us, does involve the Navy in terms of sensors, in terms of targeting, in terms of kinetic action using drones and missiles possibly as well. There is a naval element to what is playing out. We just can't see that yet. So this is once again a tri-service effort. The intelligence community is fully plugged in. Military intelligence, our technical organizations, Home Ministry and internal security organizations, the paramilitary, every single element of India's national security system is now fully active because this is, and I have no hesitation in saying this is a warlike situation across the entire frontage between India and Pakistan, Vishnu.
No, you're quite right. And I think, we have been staying away from that word war. And I think that description, warlike situation, is pretty accurate at this stage. The blackout sirens graphic on the right-hand side of your screen, all of those areas on our western frontier, which are in the middle of a blackout right now, that's an important step, and that's what happens when a war takes place. Something like this has not taken place since 1971. On the left-hand side of your screen, we see footage from, I think that's Jaisalmer, where there have been, so many cities have come under attack. Indian air defense surface-to-air missiles have been taking out these missiles, have been taking out incoming missiles, drones as well. There are sirens which are being sounded right now. There are a lot of rumors which have been dispelled, but what Shiv was talking about, and we'll get more details about that perhaps later on once it becomes clear. There is a sense that the Indian Air Force may have struck the Pakistan Air Force hard. There is talk among credible people about the Pakistan Air Force having sustained losses. We're trying to find out more details about that, but it really depends upon our authorities to share that information and share it with us credibly. The flow of information in a situation like this is so very important. It has to be said that in the last couple of hours, we have been getting a little bit of information here and there, primarily urging the media to be responsible at this stage to ensure that all footage is deferred. And just to let our viewers know, whatever footage you see over here is repeated and it's deferred. It was filmed a while back. So we will continue to follow that. Joining us at this stage, we've got a couple of guests still with us. Major General Sanjay Meston with us. General Meston, the words we are using now is a warlike situation. I think that's fairly accurate. on what we are seeing. We haven't seen anything like this since 1971. That's clear. Your thoughts, General Meston?
Vishnu and Shiv, firstly, I agree. I've been hearing you both. I think you are doing a very responsible reporting, and in such scenarios, firstly, each terminology matters. And I think you have stated very correctly, it's a warlike situation. Secondly, it's very, very important to verify all inputs. You know what happens in the fog of war, even as a military commander, I recollect we used to get so many information from different directions, and generally during night time, there is a tendency to overinflate these reports. So the job of the top commanders is to verify each report, and you have rightly mentioned our intelligence authorities, they don't get too emotional and they will do an accurate reporting. So yes, one thing is factual. There is fire from both sides. Pakistani has actually now escalated the situation, and Indian response is being appropriate. And I think rightfully, I think 2 Pakistani aircrafts, one F-16 and one JF-17 has been shot down. And there are also unconfirmed reports about a AVAC being shot down. And if that has been shot down, I think it's a great success story. On ground also, yes, the army has confirmed that some military areas have been contacted. Some contact has been made, but beyond this, one is not aware. But anyway, to sum it up, I think overall, by and large, most of the fronts are activated. There is yet to, I'm quite sure the Navy also perhaps may get activated tonight, especially the Indian Navy. We have a clear edge over there, and that is going to make hell of a difference, whatever action and in whatever time frame we take. But I presume, Vishnu, that tonight is going to be a very, very active night, and results will unfold by tomorrow morning. And maybe that we definitely would have gone on offensive. I think some Pakistan cities have been targeted, and I think those strikes, whatever we'll be doing now, we will be striking their military targets, their communication centers, and maybe even some strategic targets we may have to target, because that also now is very, very important, and that decision is of course dependent on the Joint Chiefs of Staff under the CDS, because strategic targeting in becomes a necessity. Let's take our mind back in 1971, we had targeted the Karachi port. So I think that is also on the cards. Probably tonight, I see a lot of action and likely targeting of strategic targets from both ends. They may try to, damage some of our dams, but if they do, then I think the response will be more severe than their limited dams and headworks we will be targeting, Vishnu.
All right. So, General Meston, you've sort of spelled out the range of options, the role of the Navy in terms of expanding targets, what it could be that we're going to hit. Now, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. And at one level, we do want things to be right-sized. We do want a process of de-escalation to start at some stage. That's not what I am saying. That seems to be what the government in its messages has been saying as well, that, everything that we are doing now is proportionate. There have been enough off-ramps which have been given to the Pakistani government in statements issued to the press, in statements issued in press conferences by our Foreign Secretary and others, that, we are pursuing a certain path. It is proportionate to what Pakistan is doing. We are going after terrorists. They are going after civilian areas, as we can see. They've gone after religious areas. They've gone after Indian military facilities, and therefore there is an Indian response which follows at that level. Now, that's the message we've been giving. Pakistan is not following that at this stage. It does need to be said that the US has reached out to us. We've responded. External Affairs Minister Jaisalmer has spoken to his US counterpart, where he has told him that we will continue to work closely, and we are not looking to escalate. That's what Mr. Jaisalmer has said. India is not. Dr. Jaisalmer has said we're not looking to escalate. That's important in a situation like this. Will Pakistan accept and follow that? Now, all sorts of information coming in on the loss of fighter aircraft by Pakistan, possibly AWACS platforms. We cannot confirm any of that so far, so we are being very, very cautious about that. Some reports about pilots in custody, that's been denied to me. So that's another piece of news which may not be correct, but there is very much a fog of war situation which is taking place right now. So things can change. It is a fast-moving period of development, and so therefore we will responsibly give you information we have now and tell you that, look, it can change, and if it does, we will tell you it is changing as well. Wing Commander Gitanjali Singh with us. Wing Commander, thanks very much for being with us. It is confirmed that several Indian military stations have been under attack. The IDS has confirmed that, which is why we are reporting it. Pathankot, Udhampur and Jammu. These are some of our most important military bases on the Western Front. Why are these important in terms of their location? Anything that you can share with us? And could you explain to us how India has been repelling these attacks?
Good evening, Vishnu. Jai Hind, everybody.
Jai Hind.
In today's evening press conference, the Defense Secretary clearly said that it's up to Pakistan to de-escalate or engage. However, they have clearly chosen to escalate further by targeting our military bases and again, civilian population, the innocent civilian population. So suitably, a response is underway, and I guess it would be more clear by tomorrow morning by official sources. However, the civilian population in these circumstances needs to be properly informed, and any misinformation should be disregarded in this fog of war. As an ex-Fauji, I request the nation to support the armed forces and civil authorities by following the instructions issued to them and acting bravely with courage and believing in the capabilities of the nation. The military bases right now being targeted, as you know, are major bases on the Western Front. They are clearly being targeted because of the range and the vicinity to the adversary that right now we are engaging in, that is Pakistan. So it is quite known that this front is going to be the forefront when a retaliation from Pakistan is going to happen. However, I would just request that in this development and the developing situation that we are in presently, there is a little restraint that we need to act with and a little more responsibility that we all need to exercise in passing on the information. As you have been clearly mentioning, there have been a lot of information floating around. But what we need to believe and what we need to pass on to the civilians and the population sitting on the ground and seeing these horrific visuals in the sky matters a lot to their morale and the psychology of these people on the ground.
General Gigi Dwivedi, your thoughts at this stage with the extent of the attacks now taking place. Is it very likely that India will respond if we haven't already? Even if our response is proportionate, it would be fair to say that it would be substantive, perhaps even massive in terms of numbers of strikes going in and the areas which are covered.
Well, Vishnu, it's very important to take a audit as to what the exact situation is now. I think right now we are witnessing a very intensified aerial activity. I mean, both sides are trying to knock off the air defense system so as to gain an edge in the air domination, which is very important should there further escalation take place. Point number one. Point number two is very important information that ground forces have not yet made any move, because when ground forces begin to move, that means the escalation is going at a different level. The third point is, as I see, there's going to be escalation because India would respond very substantially. And what Pakistan is doing is to escalate. I think we will give a right message that escalation, if they do, is not going to actually be in their favor. Fourth point, Vishnu, we see the history of Pakistan. Whenever the generals are at the helm, they have tried to punch above the weight, and Asim Munir is no exception. He belongs to the same stable, and I think very soon he'll realize that he has actually, jumped the tape. And my final point is the international community. Well, I think America, they have expressed their support and also their willingness to help us out or support us. But point is, who is the aggressor? That's the point we need to ask the global polity. That it is Pakistan, and they have not been reined in. In fact, America blows two bugles at the same time. He needs to tell very firmly that if you want to support us, then come heavy on Pakistan. You can't be actually giving the military assistance and at the same time say that we are with you. I think we need to do hard talk. And finally, Vishnu, why Pakistan is so jumpy? It's China behind. They feel that China is there. They can use their assets, and China has total support. I, being a defense attaché, China can vouch that there is a very intimate give and take between the PLA and the Pakistan army. I think, but Pakistanis are fools. Chinese never actually burn their own fingers for someone else. So
General
all I
Dwivedi,
can
I've
say
just got some breaking news coming in. This is a statement from the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. It's important because it's a government statement. India has negated Pakistan's escalation bid with focused, measured, and non-escalatory responses. Indian Armed Forces reiterate their commitment to non-escalation, provided it is respected by the Pakistani military. General Meston, would you like to comment on that? You know, this is the off-ramp that we were talking about earlier on. In fact, let me take that across to Shiv. Shiv, I'm just going to read that again, get your thoughts on this. It does appear to be an off-ramp. The Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, Government of India, in a tweet says, India has negated Pakistan's escalation bid with focused, measured, and non-escalatory responses. Indian Armed Forces reiterate their commitment to non-escalation, provided it is respected by the Pakistani military. So there is an off-ramp, it's for Pakistan to take. That's my interpretation. What is yours, Shiv?
Vishnu, I think this was the previous off-ramp, honestly. This is the Ministry of Information and Broadcast. I'm wondering whether it's this is a statement on what's happening now, which is unlikely because it is a live and evolving situation, or whether it is a reiteration of what the Foreign Secretary had said a little earlier. I agree with you that the wording of it, seems to provide an off-ramp to Pakistan that, if they don't escalate, then India will not escalate either. But we are literally talking about this in the middle of a live real-time escalation that has just taken place moments ago. It is continuing, and the Indian response to that escalation has either already begun or is imminent. We will not speculate on that because on NDTV we do not talk about operational details of Indian movements, plans, timing, targets, etc. So this is likely a reiteration of that. Now, whether this current evolving situation ends in some kind of a face-saver or an off-ramp to Pakistan will have to be seen, and we cannot conjecture on that. But at this time, I think it's reasonable to say that things are extremely volatile. The three services of both sides are fully engaged in live kinetic combat of some kind or the other, at some level or the other. Obviously, the armies and the air forces are engaged in the most aggressive real-time combat. It's happening on land and in the air, line of control, airspace, beyond visual range, within visual range. Information about shoot-downs, etc., are taking place. There's an absolutely vast amount of misinformation, and half-baked information that is being purveyed, mostly by Pakistan, also being picked up by some Indian media, probably in a hurry to get things out. But I think what we're doing here, Vishnu, is the right thing, which is to corroborate as many things as possible, before things spiral entirely out of control. It's important to remember that the Pakistani intelligence forces, like they did in 2611, will be watching Indian media, will be looking at things in Indian media, trying to pick up hints that may help their military plans which are in motion right now. And therefore, the prerogative on us to be even more responsible is there in far greater measure. We are still to hear more details about the air defense situation around all these bases that were attempted to be targeted by Pakistan. I should use that word attempted because there is no information whatsoever or suggestion, Vishnu, as we know, that any of those targets have been successfully engaged or hit. It seems to be a complete wipeout as far as those incoming projectiles are concerned. And once again, for the second time in 24 hours, Vishnu, it seems that India's air defense forces and the integrated air defense system has performed to maximum effect. This is truly a surreal salute to the kind of expensive, sophisticated technology that India has integrated, invested in, and deployed across these regions of India. And this is where they really start earning their money, and they so far are doing so admirably.
Shiv, hang on, as always. We've got General S.L. Narasimhan with us. We've got Major General G.G. Dwivedi, D.P. Srivastav with us, and also Ambassador Srivastav, and also Major General Sanjay Meston. Let me go across to you, General Narasimhan first. There have been attacks confirmed now on Indian military bases, Udhampur, Jammu, and one other. That the Integrated Defence Staff has confirmed that India has repelled these attacks. There has been a statement which has been put out by the government, which says that India is not keen on following an escalatory path, but that depends on Pakistan. There's a rider to that statement. In the context of these two developments, how would you assess where we are presently?
We are present. Thank you, Vishnu, for getting me on your show. We are presently on a action-reaction kind of a mode. The action was started by Pahalgam, by Pakistan, and we reacted with Sindoor, and then the action-reaction is still going on. I would put it in this manner that, these are actually initial stages of the action-reaction. Pakistan has to the onus of escalation has been put fairly on Pakistan, and that is what the Foreign Secretary also mentioned in his press briefing today. As long as Pakistan controls itself, we will not escalate is the message. If what I would expect is Pakistan would still escalate some more before de-escalating. So we should be prepared for it. That is the way I see it at this point in time.
Ambassador Srivastava, would you like to comment on what the government has said? This is the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. India has negated Pakistan's escalation bid with focused, measured and non-escalatory responses. The Indian Armed Forces reiterate their commitment to non-escalation provided it is respected by the Pakistani military. Do you believe the statement perhaps doesn't reflect the present situation where there is massive escalation because of Pakistan, or do you believe the statement which was put out at 9:12 p.m. is in fact an opportunity for Pakistan to take as an off-ramp, end this?
Just give me a minute,
We will come back to you in a moment. General Meston, would you like to come in?
Right now what the situation is going on regarding this statement, I would like to highlight certain ground realities. Let's see what is the target. The target is the Indian civilians, of course the Pakistani also, because we have to do PSY-ops also, and of course the Indian Armed Forces. Now coming on to each one of them, Indian Armed Forces at this stage would be focused on the mission, so they would be assessing things on ground and taking actions accordingly. So they would be totally involved in their mission, whatever mission now it is. Coming on to the civilians in the country, as on date, there is information overflow and there is so much of social media and everything, so many messages are going, videos are going. So obviously what they will expect now from the government of India is timely briefings, because that's very important. Otherwise, a lot of people will keep, passing on these visuals, etc., and it will set in fear and panic. Now the collectors are there, everything is there, but somehow they have to have a system in their own respective districts, and which has to flow top down, that is from the government of India, because people are looking for inputs. Everyone, normal question is, kya ho raha hai? What are they doing? So somehow they have to be educated, and they would be watching the social media or watching so many TV channels, and they will start watching those TV channels which are trying to project it in a very different manner. Unlike your TV channel is very responsible. So a mechanism has to be thought where the people are educated and given maybe early update what is going on.
All right, General Meston, hold on for a moment. We've got some more news coming in. This is important for air travelers across the country. It's a statement by Air India, but I would suggest it applies to all air travelers. It says, in view of an order by the Bureau of Civil Aviation Security on enhanced measures at airports, passengers across India are advised to arrive at their respective airports at least 3 hours prior to scheduled departure to ensure smooth check-in and boarding. Check-in closes 75 minutes before departure. This is important. We've got a booming aviation sector in the country. Obviously, there are areas where flights are not operating. Several airports have been shut. There are NOTAMs or notices to airmen which exist right now. All of these airports in these areas would be shut down as well if they haven't already. But Shiv, this is important because the government are now telling air travelers across the country, if you need to fly, you need to get to your airport at least 3 hours before a flight. And these would be all flights, presumably domestic flights as well. So this, I think, reflects an enhanced security concern as well. Shiv?
Vishnu, I agree with you. I think travelers, especially in the border states or states close to the border, central India and north and west India, should expect disruptions of all kinds because this is a extremely volatile situation. It's a war-like situation. There is constant real-time combat taking place, kinetic action on both sides. It is very likely that very short notice, NOTAMs and other restrictions will fly into effect at a moment's notice. So even though the advisory now is about travelers going to the airport at least 3 hours in advance, I think they should be also mentally prepared to not fly at all if things get to that point, because like I said, all airlines will be looking for a directive from the Directorate General of Civil Aviation, and the Directorate General of Civil Aviation will be looking at the government itself, the national security system, as to what that next decision must be. So I think we can safely say, expect the unexpected. Don't make rigid plans right now if you're traveling to any of the frontier states, border states in the north and northwest at this point of time. Vishnu and his team, who track civil aviation in the airlines, will of course have that information up for you as soon as it's out here on NDTV first. This is important because people are anxiously watching this unfolding story from all parts of the country, not just the military aspect of it, but also normal life and whether that's going to be disrupted. So on NDTV, we've got a team, as we bring this to you, working out an FAQ, a usable FAQ for citizens across the country as to what possible disruptions to their daily life they can expect over the next few hours, days, possibly weeks as well, as this situation continues to escalate. Remember, on NDTV, as we report on conflict, combat and war, it is our hope that things calm down and cool down. India has every right to retaliate against provocations and escalations by Pakistan, but at the end of it, we hope that there is a resolution and things calm down, because at the end of the day, we do not want to send our men and women into the line of fire unless India absolutely has to. We've got a very professional security establishment and force. They will do what needs doing to protect India, but right now, our responsibility as citizens to report what's happening accurately, to bring timely information to all of our viewers, to citizens, is the biggest national duty perhaps that we can actually do here in the media. So Vishnu, multiple new threads coming in terms of aircraft losses, in terms of movements on the Pakistan side, in terms of Indian missiles, hitting targets within Pakistan, which we will talk about only once we have a confirmation on that. There are other dramatic claims that are being made, which we will not get into until we have a confirmation. That's a commitment we take very, very seriously here at NDTV, and we will follow that, Vishnu.
All right, just in a little while back, 10:59, so 11 minutes back, there's been a statement from the PRO Defense in Jammu. I'm reading it out again. It's a government statement, so it's credible. Military stations at Jammu, Pathankot and Udhampur were targeted by Pakistani origin drones and missiles along the international border in Jammu and Kashmir today. The threats were swiftly neutralized using kinetic and non-kinetic capabilities. I'll explain that, but I'll read out the statement first. The threats were swiftly neutralized using kinetic and non-kinetic capabilities in line with established standard operating procedures. No casualties or material losses were reported. India remains fully prepared to defend its sovereignty and ensure the safety of its people. Kinetic means surface-to-air missiles or artillery, anti-air artillery, perhaps radar-guided anti-air artillery. Non-kinetic refers to jammers and anti-drone systems. Jammers which block the signals which drones receive, throw off their ability to target areas accurately, etc., etc. These have been developed indigenously. I believe we would also have systems from elsewhere, but these have been deployed, and it's great that they have, because you can't be endlessly firing off surface-to-air interceptors. It's just not feasible. You'll end up running out of those. Let me go back to Ambassador Srivastav at this stage. Ambassador, in statements made by the government of India, there does appear to be an off-ramp which is still being given to Pakistan. Do you believe that that statement is unrealistic given what they've done, or by escalating, or do you believe that there's still this opportunity for them to get their act together?
I think the government of India has done the best to give an off-ramp to Pakistan. But in my personal opinion, at this stage, Pakistan is not going to look for an off-ramp. General Munir is looking for a win so that he can consolidate his position within the army. You have to bear in mind that Pakistan is a divided country and Pakistan army is a divided house. Last year, in 2023, we have seen that there were attacks on the army headquarters and on the Lahore Corps commander's residence. So Munir has a very tenuous position, and this has to be we also have to keep in mind his own mindset, which he has displayed on and off. He talks about ideology of Pakistan and two-nation theory. So he's not a professional soldier. He believes that he's a soldier and the priest together. And that is a very dangerous combination. So at this stage, I don't think it is realistic to expect an off-ramp by Pakistan. They will try their best till they have exhausted themselves, which is likely to be sooner than later. But we have to be prepared that at least next couple of days, there will be continued escalation by Pakistan, which started the war by hitting the civilians and which also started the present round by attacking civilian targets last night.
Ambassador Srivastav, thanks very much for sharing that detail with us. I'm just going to add a little bit about NOTAMs, or notice to airmen, which have just come in now. I've got a list of all of the airports which remain shut. Chandigarh airport is shut. Srinagar, Amritsar, Ludhiana, Bhuntar, Kishangarh, Patiala, Shimla, Kangra, Gaggal, Bhatinda airport, Jaisalmer, Jodhpur, Bikaner, Halwara, Pathankot, Jammu, Leh. Leh is also shut. That's critical. Mundra, Jamnagar, Hirasar, Porbandar, Keshod, Kandla, Bhuj. These have all been shut. And so in case you are headed out, you need to know that, in addition to this, and I'm not sure if I've read them, but Kishangarh, Bhuntar, which is Kullu, and Ludhiana have been added to the airports list, closed. Presently, some of these are military airports, dual use, but civilian flights aren't going to be taking place at that stage. Some airports, some channels reporting that entry to airports across the country is banned. That is incorrect. Entry to airports has not been banned, but you do need to get to the airport 3 hours before a flight takes place. We're still waiting more details on what exactly has taken place in terms of the Indian Air Force's offensive against the incoming targets where the fighter aircraft have been targeted. More details like that, but we are awaiting that at this juncture. There's also been a total blackout, as you would expect, in several border areas. In fact, let's play out that map of areas where blackouts have taken place. These are just a few areas. I can tell you that there are many areas where this has taken place. We may not have all of the areas up, but local authorities, the district magistrate, the collector, etc., would be acting on their own on the basis of orders, that they have been receiving to shut down lights and ensure that people are therefore somewhat more safe. So that's the situation right now across India. I'm just going to summarize what the situation is and get Shiv Arur in at the moment. Over the last several hours, before 9 p.m., Pakistan launched its most fierce attacks into India, violating our airspace in multiple areas across our western frontier. There were attacks targeting Arispura, Samba, Arnia, Aknoor, Pathankot, Rajouri, Riyasi, Barmer, Jaisalmer, Firozpur, I'm not entirely certain. But As a result of this, India's air defense network was activated. Some of the attacks were meant or targeting military bases in India. All of those have been prevented. The images you see on your screen are of Indian surface-to-air missile units engaging Pakistani drones or Pakistani missiles. The government continues to offer Pakistan an off-ramp. The Ministry of Information and Broadcasting has said that Pakistan does need to understand that India is being proportionate in our response, and that if they respect that, then there may be a way out of this at this particular juncture. The Udhampur police have issued a statement and advisory. They're saying all citizens are requested to switch off all types of lights during the blackout period, stay indoors at safe places. No unnecessary vehicular movement should be taken. There is no need to panic. Authorities will have the situation under control. We request everyone not to spread rumors or unverified information, as it can result in unnecessary panic. So that is absolutely certain. So that's a clear message which has come in as well. I'm just again going to I am just going to get more details in a while from now. We are checking to see whether there are other operations which are taking place right now. We don't have Shivaroo just yet. We're trying to find out. But let me go across to General S.L. Narasimhan. General Narasimhan, there are initial indicators of India at this juncture perhaps stepping up our attacks following this. I'm not getting into what, because it needs to be verified. But would that be a normal response given the extent of the Pakistani attacks?
I think so. The thing is that you listed out the places which have been under drone attack from Pakistan. While defending them is only one aspect of it. If you have to put the adversary onto defensive and he doesn't resort to something like this, I think you need to go on the offensive. That is what you saw about what happened with Lahore in the morning today. So this is something that is going to happen. If Pakistan is doing something, we are going to do the counter to that, and maybe a little more to put pressure on Pakistan. And we have been saying that we will not attack civilian targets, we will not attack other areas. But this time around, if Pakistan attacks our military installations, I am sure we will pay them back in the same coin and a little more. So this is how I think we are going to handle. We will allow Pakistan to think. We will allow Pakistan to de-escalate if they want to. If they don't, then we will also counter it in the same manner and give them a little more of a dose so that they can have a rethink on what they are doing.
All right, General Narasimhan, let me go across to Ambassador General Gigi Dwivedi at this stage. Sir, I think it's also important to reflect that after this evening, no matter what happens, when de-escalation eventually happens, the situation with Pakistan will take a very long time to approach some sort of level of normalcy. There will be enhanced tension. Our authorities, civilian authorities, will be on alert. It's going to be very difficult getting back to a scenario of relative normalcy along the frontier, and that's something we may need to confront. Would you agree? General Narasimhan, in fact, General Meston, would you take that question?
Vishnu, sorry, I was thinking it is targeted at someone else. Can you just repeat, please?
No, I just wanted to ask you, General Meston, after tonight and the last few days and the extent of the Pakistani attacks, it's going to be a very long time before things become normal over the frontier. We've never seen anything like this since 1971. And therefore, even when things do eventually de-escalate, I think that relationship with Pakistan, it's gone, essentially, is the point that I'm trying to mention, that we would have a much more potentially volatile boundary between both these countries indefinitely.
Vishnu, absolutely right. See, firstly, the way ground realities are going on, I think I'm very clear. Pakistan is not looking for any de-escalation because, see, we have to understand their top leadership, character like Munir. and I totally agree with the ambassador also. He is not looking for any de-escalation. He will rather continue to escalate. And obviously, he is looking for Indian responses. Now, if Indian responses are equally guarded and it's proportionate and non-escalatory, which we are stating, I think then he will get an impression that I can keep doing. I think now the responses, perhaps it should be left to the troops on ground or to the commanders on ground. Not it perhaps needs to be disproportionate. See, after all, what is the way to tell Munir? Tell Munir as to what India means, because if see, offense is the best form of defense, and therefore now we have to be more aggressive. We cannot be totally guarded, that saying that proportionate and all these media briefings or those press briefings. That's fine for the international community. I think now the responses or the statement should be fine for the international community, but they should state that the on-ground situation being monitored by the armed forces and they will take appropriate decisions. So this leaves a lot of vagueness and flexibility to the armed forces. But I don't think Munir is looking for any de-escalation. He will continue the way he is, and Indian armed forces under the leadership of Prime Minister, we need to be more bold, more aggressive, because if we keep making these statements, we will be guarded and proportionate. These are not our statements. These are the ones which are being released by the press release. I think then the civilians in India will also start feeling कि why we are being वो हमें ठोक रहे हैं और हम कुछ नहीं कर रहे हैं. Yes, we are doing, but now it has to be disproportionate. I'm using the word disproportionate so that it hits them hard from all directions, and things are to our advantage today. Let's not forget that Pakistan Western Front is also bleeding. Baluchistan Liberation Army, you have seen the attack, they killed 12 soldiers, and the TTP and Afghan Taliban, they will get more emboldened if we do disproportionate attack. But everything, if it is measured, I think then things may not hold the way it is. And what is their staying capability? See, Pakistan's staying capability, yes, they are not good in terms of numbers, in terms of equipment holding, in terms of fuel, aviation supply. So they may not last long. But now for these 2 days, we have to be striking them so hard, because I was thinking yesterday, the way they targeted 15 our cities, or rather it was airfield, the military bases, we intercepted all their missiles, oblique drones, and shot them down. So I was under the impression that they would not do anything else because they got the message. But here it is today evening, and it's not even midnight. It was just, I think, around 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, or rather 8. They have gone on quite an onslaught in so many of the areas of northern areas, including southern Jaisalmer and Jalandhar and all. So they are not going to sit back. I am very clear. They will continue, Vishnu, and therefore our strategy should also be very clear. No, now we should not give any escape route to them. A convict or this kind of a personality does not look for a escape route or anything. Now we have to go full throttle the way Israel has done with Hamas. And I think I see a lot of Hamas footprints here. This Pahalgam attack has happened exactly the way our tourists were there. On the tourists, there also it was on the celebrations, and the Hamas guy was here and in February, and I think he has directed all this, and therefore they are also resorting to all these rockets and missiles and everything, and thinking India perhaps they are thinking, because we are a nation, huge nation, doing very well. So they are thinking that India will bow down. No way. We have to this time make Pakistan bow down. And also we have to keep one thing in mind. The situation in Bangladesh and the recent visits of the Pak BGISI, I think that front also, I hope we have to be a little cautious, because people can do something from there, the jihadis. So we have to be, I would use the word disproportionate response. Offense is the best defense. And I think the government of India or the Indian armed forces perhaps would also go along with this philosophy. The MEA can keep giving any statement for the consumption of the world, but I think on ground we will be doing much more. And I feel all fronts will be activated, including the naval front. Vishnu.
All right. All fronts will be activated at this stage. In other news which is coming in, we've got a statement from Twitter. And Twitter becomes important at this juncture, given the concerns which we have for fake news, information which is meant to, give a wrong message for people across India. So X has received executive orders from the Indian government requiring Twitter X to block over 8,000 accounts in India subject to potential penalties, including significant fines and imprisonment of the company's local employees. The orders include demands to block access in India to accounts belonging to international news organizations and prominent ex-users. So, to comply with the orders, we will withhold the specified accounts in India alone. We have begun that process. However, we disagree with the Indian government's demands. So this can be another controversy for another day. The fact is that they have to do this right now because of, national security grounds, etc., etc. But they have been asked, and it is important news, to restrict or to curtail several accounts. There is a warlike situation happening, so perhaps that needs to be kept in mind at this stage, but that's something certainly that we'll be looking at very, very closely as well. General Narasimhan, you still with us, sir? I know it's been a long evening, but I'd like to thank all of our guests for being patient and with us as we we collectively navigate this space. General Narasimhan, now we've got footage from Jammu. We've been trying to change this footage around. It's a tough question, but I'll ask it. When potentially does India or Pakistan get into a situation where ground forces may be involved, where armor may be involved? We've got a huge front between Punjab, Rajasthan and Gujarat, parts of Jammu as well. So when do you foresee that possibility?
You see, at the moment, what has happened is we have only scratched the surface. Only the drones have been used, some missiles have been used, the ground forces have not come into play. The Air Force has not come into play in full. So what I was listening to my friend Sanjay Meston, the thing is that we have just scratched the surface of the whole thing. We need to be prepared. I'm sure all of us are prepared to face whatever we need to do. The thing that we need to do is, are we wanting to escalate? One view is that, Pakistan has done this. They keep repeatedly doing this. Our overtures to Pakistan has not helped. And so we must go full hog. That is Meston's view, which I could hear. The point that we need to keep in mind is it also comes with some kind of penalty for us. Please understand, we are at a place where we are the world's largest growing economy. The reports have come out recently that we have come to 4th place ahead of Japan by about $100 million. And we are on the path of growth. And we are trying to come to 2047, which is supposed to be one of the hallmarks of our history. If you are on the path and you want to do that, you need to take actions in a manner that it doesn't affect that general line of direction. That is one. While saying that, I am not in any manner insinuating or implying that we should not go full hog when we need to. What we need to do is to do a calculated kind of movement. And that is going to take some more time, is what I personally feel. The escalation will happen. In my first remark in this particular session, I had mentioned that Pakistan will escalate before the de-escalation starts. On that,
let me ask you this quick question. There's a breaking news development. The Saudi foreign minister is expected to land in Islamabad Friday as diplomatic activity speeds up in a bid to de-escalate tensions between Pakistan and India. In fact, let me ask Ambassador Srivastava, Saudi Arabia close to Pakistan, close to India as well. How important is this step, the Saudi foreign minister?
Saudi Arabia is one of the main donors for Pakistan. But Saudi Arabia has also sensed and has been victim of Pakistan's treachery. When Saudi Arabia needed Pakistani support in 2015 in Yemen against Houthis, Pakistan backed out. So they know that Pakistan plays it both ways. The visit is important, but I don't think that at this stage, this is going to make any difference to General Asim's calculus. He wants a win before he calls it off. And from our point of view, we need escalation dominance. To use a military term, I think General my military colleagues will understand it better, but I want to distinguish it from, disproportionate response. That is something we must avoid at all costs. I agree with General Narasimhan that we have a long run long-term objective of India's growth. We have made our point that India can give a befitting reply, which we have given. Now we need to control the situation, and we have to be prepared for some more escalation from Pakistani side. And I want to make one more point. You raised a very interesting question about Pakistan's internal dynamics. It will go beyond the border areas. Every lost war in Pakistan has led to a change in regime. 65 war saw Ayub Khan's demise. There was a time gap, but it was not simply Ayub Khan's demise. The East Pakistan broke away. 71 war led to demise of Yahya regime. This time, it's basically Asim Munir running the show. Shahbaz Sharif is simply, he's simply a face. So there will be consequences within the army and within the ruling Punjabi elite. So we must focus on Punjab and make sure that Pakistan army learns a lesson so that it doesn't repeat this adventure. I'll make two related points. One of the weakest point of Pakistan is Karachi. Karachi port, Pakistan's tax structure, direct taxes, nobody pays. So 70% of Pakistan's revenue comes from customs duty. And that is where Karachi port comes in. I have served in Karachi. I was in Indian consulate in Karachi in early 90s. And a very difficult time, I went through 2 gun attacks. I'm the only officer of the Foreign Service on which ISI pulled out guns. So Karachi port is something which, if we take care of it, it will deliver a big blow to Pakistan. The last point I want to make, and I think this is the most important thing, you look at the previous wars, and right now I'm not calling it a war situation. It's a kinetic action. It has escalated a bit, but neither side has declared it a war. And we hope that it remains that way. But if you look at the long-term results, the previous conflicts did not produce the deterrent effect that we wanted. The only deterrent effect will come not from kinetic action, but if we terminate the Indus Water Treaty. So far, we have suspended it. What is the difference? There is no difference in terms of legal consequences, but there's a huge difference in terms of practical consequences. Either way,
Cross Ambassador to Shiv Arur as well, who's back with us. Shiv, we are very much in a fog of war sort of situation, and I mean it's normal, and we're sifting through a lot of information. Some is right, some is not right. Sometimes we get it wrong. Hopefully not terribly wrong, but I think we are getting it right mostly in terms of the information we put on air. In this fog of war situation, there is a statement from the Pakistani minister, their information minister, who says that reports of a Pakistani pilot under Indian custody are totally false and concocted. This is important because this is something which has been flying around Indian social media. We don't need to hold the Pakistani information minister, it isn't necessarily the gospel truth. But for now, this is a reaction which is coming from Pakistan. How would you look at this?
The Pakistan information minister would be the diametric opposite of the gospel truth right now on all things. But Vishnu, I completely agree with you that as far as information is concerned in this fog of war scenario, we apply the NDTV template of verification and making sure that there are complete corroborations before we put out information, because it has a direct bearing on this evolving combat situation. And therefore, we do not want to, even for a moment, for any reason whatsoever, put out something that may be blatantly false. In fact, on NDTV, like we've been doing for the last few hours, we've been not only reporting what's happening authentically, we've also been, busting a lot of misinformation that's been coming in, from the other side mostly, but some from within here as well, that's being put out on other media. Important because the security of our armed forces right now and the missions that they're conducting is paramount. It's more important than anything else right now. You're right. There are lots of strands floating around making claims, including of a Pakistani pilot being captured. That's what the Pakistani information minister is talking about at this point of time. But I agree with you, Vishnu, when you say that I think it's important to get it right rather than rush into information and then be proven wrong later. There's a huge meltdown happening in Pakistan right now in the face of all these developments, because they feel like it's an information war. The people of Pakistan are not being told anything by their government. There are all these blatant denials and social media narrative building that the Chinese have learned, that the Pakistan have learned from the Chinese, and therefore it's a situation that Pakistan finds itself isolated in, and therefore I think it's important, even more so on us, to get this information right, because India is not Pakistan. India can never be compared with Pakistan. The militaries of the two countries are as disparate as professional militaries are possible to be in this modern age. All of this was triggered by attacks on terrorist groups, and the Pakistan military has attempted to attack Indian military installations, which to me as a human seems to suggest that Pakistan is confirming that terror groups and terrorist establishments are actually military assets of that country. It's an open secret. Everyone has always said it. But I think Pakistan in the last 48 hours has proven that it is really the global fountainhead of terror by deploying its national resources, for which the people of Pakistan pay taxes, in order to defend or retaliate against attacks on terrorist infrastructure in that country. Let's never ever forget that as we continue to report overnight tonight, Vishnu.
Shiv, just for the benefit of our viewers, the reason why it's pitch black where you are reporting from is because there's a blackout. When did that start? Do you remember approximately? And when there was a blackout, was there a sense of disquiet all around you?
Absolutely. About 90 minutes ago, Vishnu, is when the blackout began here in Srinagar. We were outside where it was completely dark. Here we're inside. We've been herded inside the place where we're staying right now in Srinagar, where all the curtains are drawn and we're allowed just a little glimmer of light so, people can hear me if not see me. But the blackout continues even now. I'm told there will be a complete power outage in about 20 minutes from now at about midnight. There will be a complete power outage, and we'll be running on batteries for at least the foreseeable few hours until the morning. I'm hoping not longer than that. But that, of course, entirely depends on the administration and the security scenario. These blackouts are not only happening here in Srinagar. I hear they're happening in different parts of Punjab, Haryana, and other frontier areas, Himachal Pradesh as well. And therefore, we need to, look at this not just in terms of what people are facing in different parts of the country, but these mandates that are being executed following a day of mock drills in different parts of the country. And now I think people will get to realize what those mock drills at least partially were about. They were about preparing the country for precisely the kind of escalation that we are now seeing play out between the two countries, Vishnu.
Shiv, this is confirmed. India Gate is being completely evacuated in New Delhi, and no one is allowed to stop or remain in the vicinity of the monument. Now, that's not that big a deal. There are occasions during the year when people aren't allowed to go near the India Gate, but obviously the timing of this is no coincidence. Any thoughts on this? Traffic is moving around the circle around India Gate, but people aren't allowed to go up to India Gate.
I'm not surprised at all, Vishnu, that, public places are being evacuated. Remember, India Gate late in the night can get quite crowded, especially if it's a cool night. I don't know what the weather is like in Delhi right now. It's very cold in Srinagar. But evacuation of public places where large numbers of people congregate is probably sort of a playbook protocol at this point of time. The administration wants to be able to manage open spaces, public spaces where people gather in large numbers. This must be very much part of the civil defense protocol in terms of emergency procedures. Clearing out large public spaces must be one of them, Vishnu. I'm hearing that this is happening in certain other places as well. Of course, we'll give out that information once we have a confirmation. But as we get closer to midnight, usually around the time when these escalations actually happen, I think it's a decent moment to remind ourselves that this escalation began, around 8, just after 8 o'clock this evening, which means that it's going to be a long night. That escalation was triggered then, by air defense systems activated over Jammu. That was the trigger point around 8 p.m. Now we're nearly at 12, 4 hours later, and it doesn't seem to have stopped. In fact, the information is still coming in. Our entire network of reporters on NDTV is bringing us information by the minute, not just from here in India and the different places that Pakistan attempted to attack, Vishnu, but as you know, also coming in from Pakistan, where it is infinitely more difficult to authenticate or corroborate information. But we, of course, and our network are doing our best, because what's happening on the other side is perhaps, even more important at this point of time, because Pakistan has begun a cycle of escalations, for which there will be consequences. Let's make no mistake. And to use the words that you used, Vishnu, a short while ago, India is obviously not sitting around and just taking this.
Shiv, I think what would be useful, and just come in when you feel like, is to remind our viewers who may be tuning in on what's taking place, because there's so many strands of information and I don't claim to remember all of them. But let me start. First up, there have been major Pakistani attacks before 9 p.m. on Arispura, Samba, Arnya, Aknoor, Pathankot, Rajouri, Riyasi, Barmer, Jaisalmer. There have been blackouts in several cities. There have been military attacks on military facilities such as Jammu and Udhampur and Pathankot as well. In all cases, in terms of attacks on military facilities, these have been repelled by surface-to-air missiles or air defense artillery, or even non-kinetic means, by which I mean anti-drone jammers. Missiles have been used in these attacks as well. Those have been intercepted. Interceptions of targets coming of incoming drones or projectiles have been reported in several areas. In New Delhi, India Gate itself has been cleared from tourists and those people, others who like to be there. There is a blackout in many areas. Those are all marked on your map. The government has denied that air travel is being shut down in India. On the contrary, they've said that no, everything is on. There are certain airports where it's not, where flights are not taking place. We've listed those for you. However, in other airports, you need to get to the airport at least 3 hours before your flight. So that's some of the information I have. One more piece of information. Dr. S. Jaishankar, the External Affairs Minister, has spoken to Secretary Rubio in the United States, and he has indicated that India is not interested in escalating this. But that really depends on what Pakistan chooses to do with this. There's been a Ministry of Information and Broadcasting statement which also says this, that India is not interested in escalating. However, it really depends on Pakistan's reaction. Some would suggest that this reaction is extreme, and therefore that statement is perhaps not taking into account what Pakistan has done. Irrespective, India has offered Pakistan an off-ramp. It's for them to take it. And finally, before Shiv comes in, these are the biggest attacks on India since 1971. No two ways about it, right? So let's look at it from that macro perspective, that macro picture for one moment. Shiv, go ahead.
Vishnu, I just got a message from a friend of mine in the armed forces who said that the evacuation from the India Gate is very much in keeping with emergency procedures because of proximity to North and South blocks. So basically, that's what that protocol is that we've seen at India Gate. So I wanted to obviously clarify that for our viewers. And thanks to the my soldier friend who's just sent me that information. It's standard operating procedure for all public areas in and around the North and South block area, Raisina Hill, to be completely cleared of people. So I just wanted to put that in, Vishnu.
All right, so that's right. Shiv just explained the India Gate situation over there. That is standard operating procedure. Anything else you'd like to add to some of the points that I've mentioned so far, Shiv?
Vishnu, I think the biggest questions that our viewers probably have right now, as we roll out our coverage overnight tonight here on NDTV, is what's happening inside Pakistan. You know, I don't want to negate what's on people's minds right now because they're wondering why there isn't more information coming in on what's happening inside Pakistan. Because if you go onto social media right now, it's an absolute free for all in terms of information, claims, counterclaims, narrative, agenda, things like that are happening. Obviously, this is the place where you get all that authentic information. Some of those things that are being said on social media have been corroborated, and you and I have reported them, including the F-16 being shot down.
Shiv, let me interrupt you for half a second.
ANI are talking about another aircraft having been shot down as well.
Shiv, half a second. Here's a tweet from ANI, which is very close to the government. A Pakistani Air Force jet has been shot down in the Pathankot sector by Indian Air Defence. Multiple sources tell ANI more details are awaited. So this is important. This is about 12 minutes old, this particular tweet. We've been asking the government, the authorities this question for a while. Nothing has come in. Your thoughts, Shiv?
Important, Vishnu, because this is this particular tweet talks about a Pakistani Air Force jet has been shot down in the Pathankot sector by the Indian Air Defence, which means, the Punjab sector, which means these, if these are corroborated to be correct, it would be these aircraft are flying either very, very close to the international border or were attempting to, conduct some kind of airstrikes within, reminiscent perhaps of what happened in February 2019, which you and I reported very closely, Vishnu. Again, it's almost futile conjecturing as to what circumstances, under what circumstances something like this may or may not have happened. But, ANI is a formal news agency that has reported this. And like you said, they do have their contacts in the government, so they should be able to get authentic information of this kind. They are reporting that an aircraft has been shot down in Pathankot. We don't know if this is in addition, Vishnu, to the F-16 that we've been reporting about already, or whether this is another jet. Remember, there's all a flutter about an AWACS aircraft as well. That's been corroborated by one person, but until we have at least two more corroborations, which is our benchmark, we won't be confirming that as, indicative of what is possibly true at this time. But all of these strands of information, Vishnu, make it very clear that there is a hectic air battle on. There are air assets, both on the Indian and the Pakistani side, which are, possibly engaged in some kind of exchange that is not visible to us right now, because the only visual and visible element of this entire deeply dramatic kinetic escalation is the Indian integrated air defense engaging with those incoming Pakistani missiles and drones. And I don't think we're going to get any visual sort of manifestation of the air battle that's taking place, because that's a playground that's too vast. We're talking about, many hundreds of square kilometers of airspace in which aircraft will be operating in, from the Rajasthan sector to the Gujarat sector, where the army has confirmed that a Pakistani drone was shot down over Sir Creek a short while ago. We have a confirmation on an F-16 going down. Everything else right now is in the pipeline. It's in our queue right now on NDTV, is how I'd like to put it, Vishnu. And I think one by one, between the both of us and our network of reporters and editors, we will be able to either, verify or deny what is being said about some of these things.
Indeed, lots of international strands in terms of information as well. One of the important ones is that the Saudi foreign minister is flying to or will be traveling to Pakistan on Friday. Saudi Arabia is very close to Pakistan, very close to India as well. This would presumably, there would presumably be conversation on de-escalation. India has always said that this is something between India and Pakistan. It's a bilateral issue. It needs to be sorted out between both these countries. We don't need a third party per se to intervene. However, there have been offers of assistance, for example, from the United States. The Saudis going over there, whether they persuade Pakistan to de-escalate, that needs to be seen, because at the end of the day, India will outlast Pakistan in any military conflict. That's just the way it's going to be. The size of our armed forces considerably larger. The size of our military assets considerably larger as well. Technology-wise also superior. There are certain areas where the Pakistanis are near peers, but by and large they aren't. If you look at the disparity in strength between the navies, for example, of both sides, the Pakistan Navy is not in the same league, not at all. So these are factors that Pakistan would need to look at very closely. There have been confirmed strikes on their air defense facilities, Chinese surface-to-air missile units, earlier on in the day, that too in Lahore, attacks which they were not able to prevent. So these are factors that will need to go in. Now, what is the present situation? It really does need to be seen. I'm not entirely certain. These are deferred, there's deferred footage. There are only so many drones that Pakistan can fire, can launch. In fact, that's something, let me ask you, Shiv, on. Shiv, we've been running deferred footage and there have been waves of attacks coming in. But are these over at the moment? I mean, they can restart at any stage, but or are these ongoing in certain areas?
No, Vishnu, I think you make a very, very good point. I think these are deferred images. Right now, given that the Indian Ministry of Defence confirmed that between Jammu, Pathankot and Udhampur, all of the projectiles were foiled by the Indian Integrated Air Defence System. I think that kind of bookends that sort of action and seems to suggest that there is no more incoming threat at this point of time. I completely agree with you when you say it could start again at any time, because there is, of course, reason to believe that Pakistan does have a stockpile of such munitions, which it will probably be eager to use, given that on 2 cycles so far, all of its incoming weapons have been foiled by air defense projectiles and interceptors from India. In some of the other places, we're not so sure. We've been talking about Samba and Jaisalmer and certain other places. Gwalior was apparently, a place that was being looked at as a possible target by Pakistan. We don't know just yet. Nothing to suggest that there are incoming projectiles there. But as you know, this kind of saturation attack, sending a lot of munitions or projectiles, consumes a huge amount of, energy, a huge amount of targeting energy, a huge amount of, literally fuel and capacity of any military, and therefore having a sustained launch of these projectiles and munitions into another country is not something that is feasible. So I'm guessing that right now things may have tapered off a little bit because the manner in which we were reporting them a little earlier, Vishnu, it was literally like citizens' mobile phones plugged in like, public public access sensors where these visuals were streaming live on the internet or on social media. We were picking them up when they were a little deferred. So I'm guessing that since we're not hearing anything of that kind anymore, those things may have quietened down for just a moment. But I agree with you when you say that it could flare up once again. I think the scene may have shifted now to what's happening inside Pakistan. And, ANI reporting another fighter jet of Pakistan being downed in the Pathankot sector is the fresh piece of information that we're looking at closely and hope to get a confirmation of very soon, Vishnu.
No, that's absolutely huge. The fact that you've got a government agency, an agency very close to the government actually tweeting that out, it's information that we've been trying to confirm, and some of our official sources may not necessarily have been aware of these developments, but it does appear that there is something there. So we're going to be looking very closely. I think it's interesting, Shiv, that if this has taken place and that there is an aircraft, a Pakistani aircraft, which has been downed, and in Indian airspace, then it would indicate that they were trying to penetrate our airspace. When in fact, what we've seen so far is both countries taking shots from well within our respective territories. That's because there are standoff weapons which are available. India's got the Scalp, which can hit targets out several hundred kilometers. Pakistan as well. They've got certain cruise missiles as well, which can be fired. Their munitions off their aircraft in terms of long-range missiles. They don't have the legs that our missiles do have. But to actually get into this incredibly defended airspace and be shot down, that really does say something. Shiv?
100% agree with that assessment, Vishnu. We do know an F-16 has been downed. If another aircraft has been downed in addition to an AWACS and possibly other aircraft, we don't know this for sure. We're only reasonably certain about the F-16. Then it would suggest a very, very chaotic, slightly out of control scenario playing out in Pakistani airspace. Where they've been completely engaged by Indian, either Indian fighters or Indian air defenses, surface-to-air systems. It's also reasonable to assume that some of these aircraft, if not all of them, may have been, in the process of some kind of offensive action or flying very close to the border in an aggressive, intimidatory fashion. Never a good time to do that, after you have already attempted to attack a country, because India's air defense systems, including the S-400, which is being spoken about in great measure, but also not to forget India's very own indigenously developed, made in India Akash surface-to-air system, which has come into its own in a very, very big way. It's a weapon that the Indian Armed Forces absolutely adore. Many more systems of the Akash variety are being ordered. We've got the Israeli Spider systems as well, which have been kicking into action, I presume, in some of these integrated air defense engagements. And therefore, something that you had said earlier today, Vishnu, I think defines what we're seeing in huge measure, which is this is probably one of the most epic air battles, sustained air battles that we are seeing play out in phases over the last 36 hours or so. I don't think I remember seeing anything of this kind in any recent conflict. We haven't seen it, Vishnu.
No, we haven't. We've not seen it since 1971. And what strikes me is not the number of drones coming in or the number of missiles being fired, but the extent of the frontage where the Pakistanis are attacking. So we'll go back to using that word which we've been using, I think, accurately, that it's a war-like situation. We aren't calling it a war because there hasn't been a move of tanks. In fact, that's been denied by our army sources. They've said that there has been no move of tanks. So this isn't a land battle, as it were. We don't know about what's happening with the Navy. No confirmation on that front either. But never since 1971, think about it, has there been anything close to the frontage that we are seeing and the extent of the attempts by Pakistan to hit India. Now, it is important to remember the sequence of events. The sequence of events after the Pahalgam attack yesterday or overnight, India struck terror targets in Pakistan. We struck terror targets in Pakistan. We were looking to get terror targets. We were not looking to hit civilian areas. We were not looking to hit military targets either. Those strikes were extremely successful. That was verified not just by footage on the ground, but satellite imagery, which we also brought our viewers, which showed that targets in Muridke, targets in Bahawalpur and elsewhere, Lashkar-e-Toiba camps, Jaish-e-Mohammed camps, these were all destroyed as a result of multiple strikes, whether these were cruise missiles or drones or suicide drones, all sorts of munition was used. Pakistan then responded. They reacted in their first phase of attacks, where they tried to hit Indian targets this morning. And there were at least 15 Indian areas, Indian cities or towns or centers which were targeted. And India repulsed that attack. And then we responded with our own drones, suicide drones, and the Harop drone, which is an Israeli system, was certainly one of those systems which was used. And we did have a great deal of success when one of the drones or a few of the drones did manage to take out a Pakistani surface-to-air missile unit in Lahore. What you are now seeing on your screen is video of Pakistan's response to that, which took place this evening before 9 p.m. this evening. It's not happening right now because this is deferred footage. We don't really know whether these attacks are still ongoing in some parts of our country. Remember, there's a blackout in many areas. But what you are seeing is video of Pakistan's response to that. I think the question that Shiva asks is important. Is India just hanging around and soaking up these strikes, or are we looking to engage the Pakistanis as well? Some would suggest that perhaps we have done that, or we are doing that, or we may do that subsequently. But again, each consecutive strike means that escalation is going up from one step to the next. In all of this, there is an effort at diplomacy being played out. Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State in the United States, and External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaisalmer have spoken. The Americans have offered to be, I wouldn't use the word mediator, but certainly try. They have encouraged both India and Pakistan to de-escalate. India seems to have conveyed to several countries, including the US, that it is our interest or it is our view that things need to be de-escalated, but it does really depend on Pakistan, which really does bring us to the larger question on whether the leadership in Pakistan is rational. I mean, what exactly do they intend to do in carrying out attacks like this, and how long can they sustain it? India is larger economically. India is more well armed. They are very skilled in certain areas, near parity in certain areas, but the sense is that overall they wouldn't be able to sustain an assault against India at the scale that they are doing. So would they in fact be using or expending a lot of their munitions at this stage? Would they be able to sustain this for days, if not weeks? It seems terribly unlikely, which is why I would suggest that that meeting tomorrow with the the Saudi foreign minister, who's a close friend of Pakistan's and a close friend of India's, is important, particularly if he gets Pakistan to dial down the tensions that we are seeing. I was, of course, referring to General Asim Munir when I was making that point on, or raising the question on whether Pakistan's leadership is rational. And that's something that is a larger question. I mean, the statements made by General Munir a couple of days before the Pahalgam terror attack, in which 26 people were killed, were shocking. When he spoke about Kashmir being Pakistan's jugular, when he spoke about Hindus in India being very different from Muslims in Pakistan, playing a communal card, playing this very direct and vindictive card on Pakistan, on Kashmir, and then just within days of that, the entire attack in Pahalgam taking place. In fact, there was a reference to this by India's Foreign Secretary today, who also mentioned that the timing of the attacks in Pahalgam coming as they did a couple of days after the Pakistani army chief made his remarks does seem curious, to say the least. Shiv?
The kind of diplomatic escape route, exit route, off ramp, whatever you want to call it, is looking difficult to focus on right now, Vishnu, because I know it's the right thing to do right now to look at what that possibility is going to be, because one needs to look through the haze of all this combat right now and a possible escalation by India overnight. And I think you're right. When you're talking about these meetings between the Saudi leaders and Pakistan, any sort of three-way back channel, that conversation that may be happening, the United States is also trying to step in. Even though I think the sense I get from people I've been speaking to, from what Dr. S. Jaisalmer says, from what Vikram Misri said earlier today in response to some of those journalist questions, is that the world respects India's right to defend itself. The world acknowledges that every action that India is taking right now is well within its rights in terms of the kind of damage that Pakistan perpetrated through the attack on innocent civilians in Pahalgam. So, when it comes to diplomatic support, outright support, calling out Pakistan, obviously it's been a bit of a mixed bag. We've seen even some of our closest allies like the United States and others try and prevaricate and equidistant themselves when it comes to terror, which has been embarrassing. But let's never forget the large elephant in the room when it comes to some of these technical issues, including diplomatic. One of them is China. China is a country that is avowedly pro-Pakistan. They've condemned India's attacks on terrorist sites, which is completely aligned with China's past track record of actually blocking India's attempts to proscribe terrorist masterminds and agencies at the United Nations, who are in Pakistan. So that's China for you. China is a factor we've got to look at in terms of any escalation against Pakistan, and I'm sure our political establishment and leadership has done that. The other slightly more complicated variable in all of this, Vishnu, is Russia. Russia is a very close friend of India's, but Russia does have relations with Pakistan as well. Russia has had a slightly up and down kind of track record when it comes to Pakistan and outright condemning some of the things that have happened. For most Indians, Russian support at a time like this should be a given, but even Sergei Lavrov had talked about de-escalation, and both sides cooperating with each other and all the other, placeholder statements you wouldn't expect from an ally as close as Russia, especially a country that's involved in one of the most damaging and grinding, combat operations in history, which is happening against Ukraine right now. So as far as India is concerned, all of the actions that have been taken since the beginning of Operation Sindoor indicate that India is navigating this kind of mixed diplomatic scenario in a careful manner. But I think Vikram Misri, the Foreign Secretary, was right when he said that in terms of support for India's actions, it is overwhelming out there.
Yep. Shiv, I don't know if we could introduce an element of humor in all of this at this stage. Let me just take a chance and do that. Shiv, I've got bad news for you. Your friends in Chandigarh tomorrow, well, the golf club is closed till 12 noon. So just a little bit of news out there. They won't be able to play golf. Shiv, go ahead.
Well, the golf clubs are going to be the smallest irritation or irritant to daily life, I suspect, Vishnu. I respect that, people are concerned about how this evolving scenario is going to affect their daily lives. But you and I both know this is an extremely serious business. Whether it is Chandigarh, whether it is Pathankot, whether it is cantonments in different parts of the country, I think the priority for the national security system is going to be on, reducing the number of moving parts, reducing the, stress on the, public affairs systems in different administrations, to keep it as laser focused on security, efficiency, reducing chaos, avoiding panic. The mock drills, of course, played a big part in that. But beyond that as well, this is a large country with in some ways an unmanageably high population, which is a huge asset to this country, but it also becomes a major, sort of efficiency and evacuation challenge if things spiral out of control. And therefore, we can be reasonably sure that all of our internal security mechanisms will also be parallelly focused on that, Vishnu, because you've reported war, Vishnu. You've reported India's last big war in Kargil firsthand at those heights. So you know what it's like in those forward areas and beyond. It is a monumental task, to manage large numbers of people, which can be a very, very chaotic proposition. Things, of course, have improved vastly since 1999, but it continues to be a challenge even now, and the government is definitely cognizant of it.
There's this bizarre piece of news which has come in. The fact that it comes from the Pakistani, a statement by the Pakistani government, and I'll read it out, is that the government of Pakistan categorically rejects the baseless and irresponsible allegations propagated by the Indian media, the media always, of course, attacked, accusing Pakistan of launching attacks on Pathankot, Jaisalmer and Srinagar. Now, these claims are entirely unfounded, politically motivated, and part of a reckless propaganda campaign aimed at maligning Pakistan. This is the most bizarre statement that we've seen all evening, because what is all of this footage that you're seeing on your screen? We've had footage from Pathankot, we've had footage from Jaisalmer and from Srinagar as well. And for Pakistan to suggest now that these places haven't been attacked, fairly laughable. We're joined by General Narasimhan, Admiral Shekhar Sinha, Major General Ranjan Kochar, and Admiral Anil Chawla. Admiral Shekhar Sinha, let me come to you first. We have gone up the escalatory matrix right now. Naval forces, whether they've been operationalized whether they've been used to strike Pakistan or not, we still don't know. But do you see that as a possibility as, things seem to be becoming worse?
Vishnu, thank you for getting me on your program. I think the escalation ladder, the Navy will obviously be the ultimate one because it's all long-range weapon. These are not short wars, and when it goes out of submarine or a ship, it's going to hit and create a very big chaos, and it will probably hit a target which is economically very important to Pakistan. So it's going to become a economic warfare. But I would say that the violation of the airspace by the drone in Sar Creek area, which is very close to Gujarat, is a very clear indication that the Pakistanis are not going to stop here. And I'm sure that the government and the naval headquarters and the naval hierarchy is all ready all across the Makran coast, and they only have to be told where they want to start the action. As you know, Navy has the ability to be very flexible and shift the entire focus of warfare to a different theater. And if we find that pressure on our army, on our western border becomes high, then positively there will be a requirement to shift the Pakistani army's attention to somewhere else where they will have to move their troops. So I think this is the one of the important ones in the pack, the wolf in the pack, if I may say so. But one provocation has been that the drone has been shot down in Sar Creek, which is very close to our Gujarat border.
Yeah, that's true. Admiral Anil Chawla, how do you see the developments that are now taking place? Do you believe that India is obliged to respond to this with as much force, if not more, if that's not already happened?
Thank you, Shom. I think this is war in all but formal declaration, and I think India is responding very rightly so with very proportional and measured responses. And I think Pakistan is feeling the heat. We have seen the damage that has been brought to their air force and their air defense systems. And we've also seen that their attacks, which you rightly said, with their claiming they have not happened. But interestingly, this I wanted to point out is a standard Pakistani tactic, because even after the Uri attacks, by the Indian army, the Pakistani army said nothing happened. So this is a standard denial. If it's a failure, they deny it's ever happened, as long as they can sort of stand that. Similar to what they said that 5 Air Force jets have been shot down, Indian Air Force jets, and when the defense minister was asked, he said, "I've seen it on social media." So I mean, the response of the Indian state, I think, has been very strong, and I think will continue to be strong. And I think Pakistan is feeling the heat now. And I totally agree with Admiral Sinha that if the Navy is called in, it'll obviously be further up the escalation ladder, but that will really then send them running for cover because they really don't have a great endurance to be able to fight for a very long time, particularly if the sea routes are blocked.
All right, Admiral Sinha, in terms of this battle of drones, this is a new form of warfare. We've really seen this over the last couple of years. Of course, in the Russia-Ukraine war, the use of drones has really expanded. But this is a new way of fighting, and it's cheaper, certainly. It's perhaps less effective, but obviously, since these are unmanned, the risks are lower. Warfare in the subcontinent has changed in the last 3 days. Your thoughts?
Particularly when it comes to warfare on land over land, very much the drones are extremely effective and the low cost solution. As you have seen that even on the land border right now, or the attacks which have been carried out, it has been a mix of drones and the manned aircraft and the missiles. So I would think that at sea, you saw what happened in Red Sea area during the Houthi attacks. A lot of drone attacks have gone in. But I want to point out something very significant for the Navy. Fighting a naval battle in a confined space like Red Sea, for a Navy, it's a confined space, Vishnu, and open Arabian Sea is quite different because, there is much more room for ships to maneuver, stay out of the ranges of the drone, and much more time to engage the drone and shoot it down. And the Navy has fair amount of ability now to fight do an anti-drone war. So I would think that yes, it is a cheap method of doing it, and that actually creates the asymmetry and always in favor of the guy who's using the low-cost solution. And that's exactly what Pakistan is doing now. We have to just wear them out, Vishnu. They don't have very much. I don't think, except for one country, anybody is giving them any money to fight this. They will wear out sometime or the other. The government has just taken a very right decision that just wear them out and make sure that you shoot down everything that comes. After all, every attack is consuming the number of missiles, Vishnu, and it's not endless. And we are saving our missile, and we have much bigger stock, Vishnu.
No, that's absolutely correct. Admiral Chawla, let me come to you first. Again, for the benefit of our viewers, in a war-type situation, when does a government or our government potentially consider the use of the Navy? It's not the first thing that you do.
I think it is when the sort of escalation reaches a point where the conflict is going to be lengthened, that there is a requirement to get in the economic aspect of it, as Admiral Sinha pointed out. And essentially, one of the major assets that the Navy brings to play is blocking the economic lines, the sea lines of communication or sea lines of economic support, in simple terms, that the other country has. And Pakistan is particularly vulnerable in this regard. They really have only two major ports in and around Karachi, and the one in Gwadar, while it is operational, is not very well connected. So it can't really be used to really supplement or replace what is available in Karachi. So therefore, being reliant on a single port for them is an Achilles heel. And this is something that if the Indian Navy, like the 1971 war, brings its operational might to bear on that, I think they will really have a tough time. And I think this is something that they would be in their minds, definitely, that this is what has happened in the past and this is what can happen now. So I think at what stage the government brings it in will depend obviously on the strategic situation at that time. But it is essentially when you want the sea lines of communication to be stopped, for the country to be starved of any further oil and ammunition. And as I brought out earlier, and as Admiral Sinha mentioned, they don't have any great stockpiles. We are aware of that. And most of the missiles and the drones that they are sending across are being shot down. And as such, drones are largely a tactical weapon. They're very effective tactically, but they are not really of any great strategic impact. So therefore, I think it will be up to the government when to bring the Navy in. But it would be when I think a tipping point has been reached, and the government feels that it's now time to use the sea pressure to bring in to bear on Pakistan on its already very fragile economy.
All right, let's just go across to Shiv one more time. Shiv, before I come to Shiv, the news from Chandigarh is that in a small period of time, if not already, they will be switching on the lights. But then there is this request to citizens there that, look, please maintain a voluntary blackout. So that's what we are hearing. Shiv, anything else that you are picking up?
These blackouts are happening in different cities, Vishnu. So I think this is going to be a little bit of a sort of a story in motion. I think people should expect short notice announcements of this kind by their administrations, whether it is blackouts, whether it is power outages, etc., for the next few hours or days as this situation evolves. Because, just a couple of hours ago, we were in the middle of reporting a very, very high voltage confrontation between India and Pakistan, missiles, drones, air defense systems being used, the line of control being lit up with artillery, etc. I've just got information from our contact in the Uri sector that there have been some injuries and possibly some casualties on the Indian side, from shelling by the Pakistan side. Civilians, I'm talking about, not military. This kind of thing is going to happen, Vishnu. Whether it is Chandigarh, whether it is Amritsar, whether it is Jalandhar, Avantipura, Adampur, Kapurthala, all of the cities that were on that list that the Indian Ministry of Defence put out in its statement as having been defended by integrated air defence, but also other cities. We're talking about places in Rajasthan, we're talking about places in Gujarat. All of these places will fall under that national security umbrella right now, as being places of interest, if I can use that phrase, in terms of what Pakistan is attempting to do. They're looking to, get their weapons to wreak some kind of damage in some kind of high-profile location, and that's perhaps the reason why we're seeing, evacuations from public places, sanitization of some areas. This is where all that practice actually comes into effect. The fact that those mock drills haven't happened since 1971 is obviously something that would have borne down on the establishment's mind very deeply. But this is where that starts making its money as well, and that starts paying off in terms of reducing public panic, avoiding chaos, increasing efficiency of administrative services in getting people to safety, should the balloon go up even further than it already has, Vishnu.
All right, Shiv. Again, for the benefit of our viewers, the footage that you see on your screens, and again, this is all deferred footage. Let's get the locations of these areas out, please. I think it's Jammu, and there are several other areas. People have been sending in footage to us, telling us that of what they're seeing, what they're hearing. This was earlier in the evening, 2 different areas, Jammu and in Aknoor. The blasts, the explosions are of surface-to-air missiles engaging incoming Pakistani projectiles, whether they're drones or they are missiles, we don't know. There have been at least 3 Indian military stations which have been attacked: Udhampur, Jammu and Pathankot. The attacks over there have been repelled through kinetic means and non-kinetic means, which basically means jammers. There have been attacks in Aknoor as well, which have taken place. I think, Admiral Chawla, it would be interesting for you to reflect on the point that these are the biggest air attacks that we've seen on India since the 1971 war. And it works the other way as well. Pakistan, we've hit Pakistan harder than we ever have by way of air attacks since the 1971 war. That's how big all of this is.
Absolutely. As I mentioned in the beginning, this is war and anything else but a formal declaration. And that normally does not come in today's world. So I think it is also a test of the nation's will. I think India is a very strong country today, even compared to the victory in 1971, in every sense, in the sense of the comprehensive national power. It's a very, very strong country. The leadership is extremely strong. And I think with this kind of strength that we have, Pakistan should be very wary. And I think that's what they're trying to do, because when you see their statements on television, even the ISPR, they keep talking about this peace, something like Bagal mein chura or Muh mein Ram Ram sort of thing. But they're trying to keep emphasize that, so they are essentially looking for a way out of this. And if they don't get a face-saving way out, obviously the Pakistani army in particular and the Pakistani army chief will have a big loss of face and may not be able to sustain his position. Already, if you remember, just a short time back, the army had suffered a massive blow when the corps commanders' houses, etc., in Karachi and in Lahore were attacked and ransacked. And there was this internal division within the military as well. They're also getting hammered very badly in Balochistan. And they're having a tough time on the Afghan border. and FATA as well. So all in all, I think they have bitten off more they can chew. And when one analyzes the public statements that are coming out from their official channels, not the YouTube videos that one sees, it is quite evident that they are trying to wriggle out of this. But the pressure on them from their backers is such that, and their own self-image is such that they want some way out of this, which I don't think they're going to get this time. They will have to back out themselves from the situation that they have created.
All right, Admiral Chawla and Admiral Sinha, be with us, Shiv as well. I'm going to take a break. I'm joined by my colleague Kitty. It's going to be a long night potentially for a lot of concerned people across the country. The situation is somewhat calmer now than it was a little while back. Electricity is being turned on in certain areas in Chandigarh. However, local authorities telling people on a voluntary basis, please do continue with your blackout. Is India responding to all of this? We haven't really got very many reports. That doesn't mean it won't happen tomorrow. We're going to have to wait and see. We're going to take a short break at this stage and come back with more.
All right, the situation continues to remain tense along the Indian borders after Pakistan attempted to target military installations in Jammu, Udhampur, Pathankot. These attacks were foiled by India and India responded effectively. Army had confirmed that the military stations at Jammu, Udhampur, Pathankot, which are in proximity to the international boundary in Jammu Kashmir, were targeted by Pakistan using missiles and drones, but no losses were reported, and Indian armed forces confirmed that the threat was neutralized. At this point in time, we understand, the Ministry of Defense had said that the Pakistani military attempted to engage military targets in other places that also included Chandigarh, Bathinda, Adhampur as well. However, these attempts were foiled by the forces. There is, of course, total blackout in border areas at this point in time. These visuals coming in from Jammu, Jaisalmer, Akhnur and other areas from Jammu Kashmir, we understand. Also Pathankot, total blackout in these areas as Pakistan also fired at least 8 missiles in these areas across Jammu Kashmir that were intercepted and all destroyed. There is confirmation that in Pak, F-16 jet was shot down. A JF-17 fighter jet was also shot down by the Indian surface-to-air missiles. This was the confirmation that came in from the army earlier. Pakistan also itself admitted that its jets were shot down. So far, we had this confirmation that a JF-17 was shot down as well as a Pak F-16 jet was shot down. Remember, this retaliation by the Indian forces comes after Pakistan's provocations. The Indian Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri earlier, while he was addressing the media in the evening, had made it clear that India is only going to attack, India is only going to retaliate if Pakistan doesn't mend its ways, if Pakistan chooses to attack us. And this is what has happened. A big escalation by Pakistan that targeted military bases in Jammu, Udhampur and Pathankot in India, and India managed to foil this attempt by Pakistan. But at this point in time, it looks like there is no stopping anytime soon. This is going to continue for some time at least, unless and until Pakistan decides to stop, unless and until Pakistan decides that it can't really go ahead. As so far we understand, Pakistan doesn't really also have that kind of military power that exists with India. I mean, there is no comparison between India and Pakistan when it comes to the military prowess. But this is the latest information that's coming in. 2 Pak jets, 1 F-16, 1 JF-17 have been shot down. The Pak airborne warning and control system, that Pak AVAX, has also been shot down. All right, Defense Analyst Lieutenant General S.L. Narasimhan with us on the broadcast. Sir, how do you gauge the situation at the moment? As I've been saying, there is no stopping anytime soon, isn't it?
It appears so. because the way things are moved last night, I mean this night, is indicating that there will be further escalation before any kind of de-escalation should happen. So we need to be prepared. I think the blackout and other things, the vacating of India Gate, etc., all those things are needed kind of defensive measures. I think we need to continue to do them, and then we should be prepared for any kind of offensive action from Pakistan. That is something we need to be constantly be watching, and we should be prepared to take on any kind of offensive action that comes from Pakistan.
In terms of military prowess, sir, as I've been saying, there is no comparison between India and Pakistan. Help us understand, our viewers as well. If this continues for the next few days, how is it going to look like? Pakistan doesn't really have much of those resources, but it has definitely, at this point in time, looks like decided to engage with India militarily. We understand attacks have taken place. It tried to attack our military establishments. Missiles have been fired, drones have been fired, but all those attempts were negated or foiled by our forces. But help us understand, when it comes to Pakistan and India, the military prowess that we have.
You see, the military prowess is not only in numbers. Okay, the numbers are okay. Will only tell you one story. But the real story behind that is how long can you sustain a conflict? And that is a major thing where the India has got very long kind of capabilities, very large capabilities to sustain itself in terms of a protracted kind of conflict. This is something that Pakistan may not have. In fact, some time ago, there were reports that Pakistan could only last for about 4 to 5 days, is what we heard. But notwithstanding that, I am sure some other countries may help it to sustain it for some time. But the issue is that we need to be bringing in all our effort to sustain this war as much as it lasts and ensure that we outlast the Pakistanis as far as this is concerned. And I'm very, very confident that we'll be able to do that with a lot of ease than what Pakistan would like to do.
Absolutely. All right, sir. Vice Admiral Shekhar Sinha, former Chief of Integrated Defence Staff and Commander-in-Chief of Western Naval Command, also with us on the broadcast here. Sir, if I could come to you here, what in your understanding, sir, needs to happen next? Of course, there is continued escalation, big escalation from the Pakistan side, and India, of course, has retaliated. It made it clear, as I was saying earlier also, that if Pakistan chooses to go ahead, Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri had said that we are not going to step back. It's up to them. The ball is in their court, and this is what they've decided to do.
Absolutely. What Foreign Secretary says is the government's policy. And the Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi has met the NSA some time back, as it was mentioned on some of the channels. And I think he would have given him a very broad directive. And everybody is waiting to see what the directive was. At the moment, it looks that if Pakistan escalates to next level, we will respond to everything that the Pakistani do in a proportional measure and in the same domain. However, I am quite surprised that the General Munir is still continuing, because within the army, as my colleague had just mentioned, there is fair amount of unease that General Munir has taken their country, down the destruction path by doing that, by supporting that terrorist attack. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's removed from his place sooner than later, and hopefully that will bring it to halt. And somebody mentioned that every time there is an army action like this, it always leads to change of regime. I think it was Tilak Deveshwar who had mentioned. If that be so, then I'm sure that Munir probably could be seeing his last days.
If not General Munir, sir, but then who after him? I mean, who's above the military, above the Pakistani army there in our neighboring nation?
The Chief of General Staff, CGS, Mirza, I think General Mirza, he was overlooked to become chief. I mean, you never know, he might take over. It depends on the government, and I'm assuming that somebody will actually replace him. And the only name comes to my mind is General Mirza, who is the Joint Chiefs of Staff boss.
Okay. Okay, all right. However, we understand there is no confirmation on that yet. We will try and get a confirmation. We are only putting out facts at the moment. What's happening in Pakistan at the moment, we'll try and get more information about that also. But yes, India has given a befitting response to Pakistan. Pakistan chose to attack us. Pakistan, it all started with the Pahalgam attack, and look at how Pakistan has retaliated after India chose to strike those terror bases in Pakistan. This is very much clear on whose side Pakistan is. It is the terrorists that it is harboring on its soil, of course. Vice Admiral Anil Kumar Chawla also is now joining us on the broadcast here. Thank you so much, sir, for speaking to NDTV. How do you gauge the situation at the moment, sir? What do we see coming in the next few days?
As I mentioned in the beginning, this is all but war in formal declaration. So the kind of attacks that we are seeing really happen only in wartime. And I think Pakistan has the one who's escalated it, because the Indian response to the terrorist massacre, which was most inhuman act, I think, that we have seen in many years, was very proportionate, very measured. And it was, mentioned in so many words as well, that this was only against terrorist targets. We did not attack any military targets. We did not attack any civilian targets. That's not our ethos in any case, to attack civilian targets. In response, it is Pakistan which has escalated, and it did so last time as well by attacking military targets, because obviously there are no terrorist targets to attack in India. So it was forced to do this, and I think India has rightly responded in the same vein by attacking military targets. Now, essentially it is a face-saving measure. They're trying to save face. They're trying to see how they can wriggle out of this, because if you see the Pak statements, official statements, and you see their media, I just saw the actual ground situation through CNN in Islamabad itself, where the correspondent said that the people are very rattled, that for the first time, attacks have taken place from Karachi to right up to Islamabad and beyond, of course, into Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. So I think this kind of situation is something which Pakistan cannot sustain. India can. Obviously, no country can sustain or should need to sustain such a situation for a very long time. But I think they are trying to find some face-saving way out. And I suspect, as in the past, they will look for a mediation and they will say, okay, now in the current situation, the United States is really preoccupied with other things, though it has stepped in recently in the last day or so.
Yes.
But it has its own sort of preoccupations with the tariff and the other issues that are internally going on in the United States. And there's really no other country which can mediate in that manner as the United States. So, Pakistan is in a hard spot. Its main sponsor, that is China, is unwilling to help. China can only give them verbal assurances and maybe provide them in some arms and ammunition.
But sir, so US is in a wait and watch mode at this point in time? I mean, Donald Trump, of course, made statements on 2 occasions earlier saying that we support India, but they've also urged for restraint from both sides. But we understand at this point in time, US is also looking at the situation and not really, coming in.
Yes, actually, I think India should stay its course. I think we have the stamina, we have the staying power, and we have 140 crore people. I mean, we have the moral force with us. It's a just war or just conflict that has been started in response to this outrage that happened in Pahalgam. So I think in terms of public support, in terms of the morale of the country, in terms of economic wherewithal, in terms of the military capability, everything is available. But it's not the case in Pakistan.
Right.
And all the other measures that the government has announced, particularly the abrogation of the Indus Water Treaty, has dealt a huge blow to their morale as well. Because वो कहानी है ना कि गांव में बोलते हैं कि हुक्का पानी बंद कर देंगे. So I think ये हुक्का पानी जब बंद होता है, when this happens, it is something that's very serious. And this is a lifeline for them. 80% of their water comes from there. And while obviously you can't really stop
but sir,
the flow,
that should, that's a very important point that you've made, but that should have actually prompted Pakistan to come to the sitting negotiating table to speak to India. And instead, they've launched attacks on India.
No, I think as my other colleagues will point out, this is the image and the prestige of the Pakistan army. Just one institution that holds the entire country of Pakistan to ransom. Because they have started this, they have supported this. It is quite evident over the last couple of months how this escalation has happened. It's in the public realm right now. And now for them to back down in some manner, and if you recollect, the same thing happened in the Kargil war as well. They had to finally back down, but there was a face saving provided to them by the United States, which was really a face saving for their own people, because they can fool only they can only fool their own people. They can't fool the entire world, but even all their own people were not fooled by that. Ultimately, they got to know the reality. So I think it is just that they are now desperately looking for somebody to come in and tell them, okay, fine, let it go now. So I think as far as India is concerned, I think we are rightly staying the course, and we should not blink really in this issue.
All right, Lieutenant General S.L. Narasimhan, if I could come to you once again, this is very much clear, sir. We had visuals of funeral also being held for the terrorists who were killed in the strikes by Indian forces on Pakistani soil in POK in Pakistan, we understand. Pakistan, whose side Pakistan is on, that is very much clear, and that's on record now. Pakistan so far has been saying that it's not really responsible for what's happening in India or the cowardly terrorist attacks that have taken place on Indian soil. But the proof is out in front of the whole world.
That is absolutely true. And in fact, the foreign secretary in the morning during his briefing showed the photograph of the funeral being attended by military personnel and everybody else. And and he showed as to how that proof of the complicity of both the Pakistan army as well as the deep state in Pakistan getting involved with terrorism. So that is a very clear-cut case. I don't think there is any doubt left in anybody's mind that there is a backbone which actually helps these terrorists to be recruited, trained, and then inserted for operations into India. So this is something which has been going on, and everybody understands this very well. Now,
absolutely.
the thing that we need to be...
Well, yes, multiple times it has happened. You're very much right in saying that. Proof, evidence has been given on multiple occasions, but yes, Pakistan is really not ready to mend its ways and continues to say that we are not responsible and we have nothing to do with what's happening in India. Rather, India, of course, had to take strong action. At this point in time, we understand after what happened, the massacre that unfolded in Pahalgam in Jammu Kashmir, when 26 innocent lives were lost. They were brutally killed by those terrorists, after which India, of course, had to take strong action, and we have done so, and we've given a befitting reply to Pakistan, which was very much needed. Which Pakistan had to be shown the mirror, and that is what India has done. All right, sir. Also, Lieutenant General S.L. Narasimhan, international support. When it comes to international support, as I've been saying, that US, of course, looks like at this point in time is in a wait-and-watch mode. Donald Trump, of course, has spoken about this. There are other countries of the world who've, urged for restraint from both sides. But India is very much strong enough to handle this case, but Pakistan isn't. It won't be able to survive for long. But when it comes to international support, we understand, the proof or the evidence that comes out is good enough to build our case.
Absolutely. There's only one country which gives it unwavering support to Pakistan. That is China. You can see it from the way it's supported in the UN Security Council. It was expected. And it was also expected that it will support military equipment to Pakistan, which they did in terms of PL-15 after the Pahalgam incident took place. So therefore, that support will come. But again, that support will have a kind of limitation to a particular extent. If you look at the international support, I think India has got a very large support from many of the countries. You mentioned US, but US, they said what they said, but then the US Secretary of State has already spoken to our External Affairs Minister a couple of times. Today was the last time he spoke, and thereafter he spoke to the PM of Pakistan. So they're also trying to do something. Iran foreign minister was there in Pakistan earlier. Then Saudi foreign minister is going to Pakistan tomorrow. Basically, I think they're trying to drill some sense into the Pakistani way of behavior. And everybody has understood that India is on the right path, on the moralistic high ground. So when you say casus belli, I think India has got the right way to do it. And we have not been escalating out of proportion. We have been only responding to what Pakistan has been doing. And to that extent, we are on a moral high ground. And no country in the world can actually go down and say that, okay, we'll not support India because of a particular issue.
Right. Vice Admiral Shekhar Sinha, if I could come to you. This is, you understand, in your understanding, this is measured response from India? I mean, things haven't really gone out of hands at this point in time, or have they?
No, they haven't gone out of hand. We have full control on the escalation ladder. Coming back to the point about this, the Pakistanis coming to the table. Now, we have to understand one thing, in my belief, is that the terrorist groups of Pakistan are only hired labor of the army. The biggest terrorist group in Pakistan is the army ISI combined. And till that is there, we can keep killing terrorists, we can keep killing everybody, but they will not mend their ways.
Right.
So this is a fact that we have to realize, and every time fight will be with the army. We have nothing to talk, really. What is there to talk? They are terrorists. They are attacking our innocent people. They have to be punished, and if they respond, we'll punish them again. So I think this punishment will carry on. Retribution has to come, and absolutely measured retribution. And I'm just hoping that the violation of the airspace by a drone in Sir Creek area also does invite some kind of retribution from the naval forces. So my views are very clear that the terrorist organization in Pakistan is the Army ISI,